welcome back everybody to the second European Fall Regionals here live from Cologne at Gamescom. I mean, it's going to be one hell of a tournament because guess what? We're inbound to have two of the strongest European teams clashing against each other. It's going to be the titans known as Fnatic and Dignitas, guys. And if you recall correctly, just only a couple of weeks ago, these two teams were facing each other at DreamHack Valencia for the first Fall Regionals. That time, of course, it was an epic best-of-5 series. Dignitas won it 3-0, and I'm pretty sure that Fnatic is here to seek revenge, Trejo.
One of the most legendary sets I've ever seen we're about to get between these two teams. I mean, I said I wanted to be selfish. I get what I wanted, and this is crazy. The other thing that's crazy is the fact that you guys weren't at Valencia. Somehow, you became taller than Dreadnought.
Sorry, buddy. Yeah, I'm not
secret fairy dragon juice.
I'm actually this tall. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. But about that series too, it was very adaptive between the teams. Dignitas just being able to do it better, slightly, right? It took to game number 5. Well, game number 4 is where we started to see them stealing away Leoric, or taking away Lunara too. They wanted to make sure that that style that had carried Fnatic to victory, by the end, they couldn't win off of it. And they were adaptive, more adaptive that time, but will they be again this time?
I think that's something that Bakery once said. As long as Dignitas is not getting cheesed out or surprised by something totally bananas, they can adapt to pretty much anything the enemy teams throw at them. And that was exactly what you said, Kelly. I mean, in that finals against Fnatic, they took Lunara for themselves and made it work even better than Fnatic, who originally came up with it.
And one thing I'm worried about in this series is the hole that Fnatic has blatantly shown that the Kerrigan is a downside for them. And Infernal is one of Dignitas' best maps, and it's one of their preferred maps. And if they take it to that, it's pretty much already chokeholded their draft to have to worry about the Kerrigan, because it's not only something that Dignitas is comfortable on, it's one of their main strategies, at least when looking at the draft specifically from Valencia. So already, if we make it to map number 2 and Fnatic has already shown signs of struggle, and Dig just went, let's take it to Infernal, they're going to have a huge advantage.
Dignitas has 2 Kerrigan players, both Alex and JPL, just depending on what warrior they decide to pair with it, can play her flawlessly. And yeah, that is very, very difficult to want to have to deal with, especially if you can't just take her away.
And I just want to address one thing once more. I mean, if you compare the mindsets here from these two teams, you know, Dignitas, they're already qualified for BlizzCon. They're sitting here comfortably, whereas Fnatic, they are basically like super focused to make it all the way because they still have to earn their slots. So I think Dignitas, in terms of mindsets, might actually be like super comfortable with it. You know,
the interesting thing, when we talked to the Dignitas guys yesterday, they said that they thought Fnatic was the best team coming in this weekend, or this week. I mean, they openly said that they think Fnatic is that good. They're definitely up there. So I'm kind of curious if that mindset does kind of play into that, or whether they're going to just be like, all right, you know, we know we're going to go up against a good team, and if they relent to that.
I think as long as Fnatic doesn't let this get to them, they have to consider the fact that TBD are crazy, right? Like, they are crazy. They played Butcher. They brought out Medivh. They just have the ability to see what crazy strategy that they might not have dealt with would work here, depending on the composition. And they're going into a match that they are very comfortable with because it's probably going to be far more meta, but also it's a scrim partner. They know Team Dignitas.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's really so cool to see like how a team as Dignitas, for example, they really keep on growing. They never stop improving. They won the first regionals pretty much convincingly here. And so far, they're looking pretty flawless as well. Whereas Fnatic, you know, they showed a first sign of weakness in that previous series against an opponent who, on paper, should be no rival at all.
I think the big thing to note, though, between those two is that Fnatic is, when they played a composition that they were very comfortable on and dominated at Valencia on, they were very convincing. Dig wasn't pressured in their draft at all. They got exactly what they were known for in their set, so it looked pretty convincing. Whereas when you look at Fnatic, on the other hand, game number 1, it was pretty much like the Butcher to Toronto, very easy to play against. As long as you don't get cheesed, you're going to be all right. They knew that. They did it well. The next time they did any kind of adjustment towards their draft, like Fear of the Kerrigan, they fell apart. And then they got back into the comfort zone. Dig hasn't been pushed that direction yet. So if Dig can hold his composure and have more than that, like 1 to 2 playstyles they're so good on, I feel like they're going to pull ahead by a long shot over Fnatic.
Yeah, and of course, before we get to the nitty-gritty here, analyzing those two teams' inside drafts a little bit more closely, we're now going to take a look at the reigning European champion here, the Titans known as Dignitas. Let's see how they prepared coming into Gamescom.
With a victory over Fnatic in the grand final of DreamHack Valencia, Dignitas qualified for BlizzCon as the first European team. After struggling at DreamHack Tours, the team proved in Valencia that Alex wasn't the problem and that they are stronger than ever. The team around Bakery managed to win 3 out of 4 regional finals in 2016 and is without a doubt the most accomplished team of the region. Eager to show once again that they are the strongest team in Europe, Dignitas is determined to add another victory to resume here at Gamescom.
Man, I love it when Calder puts out the narrator voice and goes full epic mode, because that was, once again, very, very well done. I mean, he said it pretty much, right? He put it on the point. They are the most accomplished team overall in the entire European region, Chehao.
I mean, they show why. I mean, they show up every single event, minus the second regional for the summer regional. And that's the question is, are they going to have a repeat performance to where they're okay with taking first place during the first regional and have that letdown? And that's kind of the biggest question is, I think when you're a champion and when you're that good, you continue to dominate and you continue to put fear into people. I don't know if we have that from Dignitas yet. I think this is their opportunity to really put a stamp on their #1 status here in Europe.
I think that is absolutely the thing here is that Dig has to decide. I put it, the difference between a good and a great team. Like, MVP Black was one of the most dominant teams in the world, but they did it for months.
Yes.
And even against a mid-level team, they never dropped a game. They kept putting their foot in your face and pushing you to the curb. And Dig right now, that's their moment to, I feel like they'll send wakes through Europe if they just dominate here. Yeah. But a lot of it comes down to their drive. Like, I personally think they probably felt they've lost initiative because of how much they gamed from the first regional. And personally, I mean, it saddens and kind of disappoints me a bit. I would like to see them do that here. They could. And right now is the first moment that they're going to have to show that they have the killer mentality.
Right, absolutely. And you have a really good point there, Dred, because if we take a step back to the summer season, the summer championships even, I think My Insanity, now known as Misfits, of course, they really gave the best impression of a European team that I've ever seen, and I still would consider them slightly favored against teams like Dignitas, because if Dignitas finally makes their stand as the dominating force here at Gamescom Cologne, I think they deserve that spot from Misfits.
The thing I think about Misfits is you look at the last regional, and the performance wasn't that great, right? They fell to Fnatic 3-0 in the semifinals, and they also struggled versus Team Liquid. But I kind of feel like maybe we're seeing sort of a metamorphosis of the team going from My Insanity to Misfits, in that when you see a butterfly, like, go from a caterpillar into, like, they liquefy in their pupa, and everything comes out. No, this is, I've been thinking about it. Everything goes in, and, like, that's the point that we saw, right? We saw the craziness from them, right, in drafting, but we also saw a 6-minute game on Battlefield of Eternity last regional. So there was just all of this craziness, and I think maybe they've honed in and know what's going to be strong.
And now, by the way, on the lower half of your screen, you see the 3 battlegrounds that we will be showing you in this best of 3, and we're kicking things off with Cursed Hollow. Yeah, once again, a battleground that excels for teams when they, you know, how to utilize global mobility and good rotations.
These map picks, Cursed Hollow is Dig, and they're just going to go, we want Kel'Thas, we want Falstead, then we're going to go Murd and Arthas in the second rotation. That's their pattern. Tomb of the Spider Queen is going to be the Tassadar, Leoric, Lunara for Fnatic, and on the opposite side is then going to be Dig with the Tassadar Kerrigan style play, and Arthas as well. That is all, like, Europe right now, the top teams are so telegraphed on what they want. I want somebody to just go, we're not giving you what you want. And if Fnatic walks in and just gives Dig the exact same things, and then just lose it. It would blow my mind. You obviously know your strategy wasn't better because you lost those games at the Grand Finals. So don't just give them like, here, Dignitas, we know you want this. How about you just have it for free?
Game number 1, Dignitas against E-Punks. They literally got every Zagara, Muradin, Arthas, Rhaegar. It's like, here you go. Here's the game. From the very beginning of the day, you have to be able to study your opponent to know that this is exactly what they want. And if the draft comes and you don't take away any of that, that's a problem.
Well, that was a series between teams that hadn't really been scrimming. So it was more of like a battle. And it was the first one of the day, right? Like, why go in taking anything away when you're just like, let's see if my style works? It didn't work, right? But Fnatic and Dignitas, they said that they had been scrimming a bit. And I feel like this is going to be a different one.
But the thing is, I don't have to look at a sheet of paper. I don't have to really study anything. I have to watch a couple Dignitas games and know that on Cursed Hollow, that's exactly what they run. Exactly what they run. I don't have to do any studying. It's just what they do. And every single time they get it, they win.
Like, for instance, we know what Dig's going to be running, and we also know that Dignitas can't, like, run the Illidan. For instance, they've always struggled with it. Like, maybe
Fnatic can't run a Kerrigan.
Like, yeah, Fnatic can't, like, we know the weakness of all these teams, and they've had them for a very long time, and I guess I'm just amazed that Europe, with especially the diversity that can happen within the picks, that nobody just says no to them. It's very confusing, actually, from an analytical perspective, why things work the way they do.
Like, sometimes it seems like nobody really wants to break the food chain, you know, by trying something different to finally kick those guys from the throne and become the #1 themselves. But also, guys, I want to let you know that we are about to dive into that first draft on Cursed Hollow, of course, and there we go. Boom, we see it on the screen.
Imagine that. It was picked by Dignitas. I never would have guessed that.
Here we go with the first ban of Fnatic. Looking at Cursed Hollow, Zagara has been one thing that was picked up. We've got Falstad banned on Cursed Hollow in the Fast 2, but Fnatic wants to take away the Zagara, especially because Dignitas showed that they wanted to play her, right? Snitch played her on Cursed in the last series versus E-Punks.
I got bad news for anybody that doesn't ban out Zagara against Snitch on this map. He's really good. Like, he's really good. So I love this first ban coming out. And I wonder if we're going to see Dignitas, if this is going to be a Tyrael ban.
I think I would get rid of Falstad. I think Fnatic clings too heavily to the hero. They go with the Tyrael instead. Personally, I just think that Fnatic is really holding tight to that with their playstyle right now, and it's one of the better heroes in the entire game, personally, especially with Zach going to be off the table. But instead, I think what they're doing is they're putting him in a chokehold where Fnatic now has to say, do you want the Falstad and give us the kill toss, which you know that is something that we would want to be playing, or are they just going to let it go through and decide to take the KT, which turns out Fnatic's not looking too pretty on the kill toss either.
I just want to let you know I was cheating because I was playing Chromie and I could see into the future.
Oh, yeah? One draft and he's the prophet.
It's just so interesting as well to see like how the prioritization of bans has changed ever since Valencia. Gone are the days of a KT first ban. Gone are the days of an ETC counter ban or whatever the teams came up with back then. Instead, we now see Tyrael and Zagara like being really highly focused when it comes to those bans.
Oh man, I never
walking in comfort
from
right away.
Holy cow, very.
That's a statement right there.
Yeah.
Does Fnatic go Kel'Thas Rhaegar here? Or
They go the high noob, and then they backdrafted with the Leoric in the back half. Like
I think this has got to be KT, right?
You think? I don't think so.
Rhaegar?
I don't think they have to at all. I think it would be a Rhaegar.
Yep.
It just picking up a Nubarak, he does so well on this map, and you know that on the other side of Dignitas, they're going to be looking at some type of mage. We already saw Jaina come out, but at the same time, Li Ming, Kel'Thas are still going to be there. Nubarak, obviously, a really hard counter, level 1 dampen magic. It just does so much against those mages, and I feel like they're planning for the future here, and I love the early draft.
All right, they could have gotten one of the mages and then banned the other, but getting Rhaegar so that they do have their support of choice for Smexy. And next we'll see the ban phase. Team Dignitas.
Do they ban one out?
Here, maybe Leoric, if they want to ban it away. Another damage dealer from them too. Like they could
Tychus
ban...
maybe. Like either one of those tank shredders. You know, Leoric and Tychus sort of have the same mechanics when it comes to countering warriors.
I thought maybe they would want to ban like Li Ming or Kel'Thas and pick the other two for their team.
I feel that would be really strong. It's just a matter of, do you want to commit to that, or are you just going to go straight trade? I mean, you have Falstad on the backside who does a lot. I think if he can be paired with a high damage dealer, because he does well for an initial burst with his hammering, and of course as he gets later on his 13, 16 talents, he gets the cooldown on that, so long as he doesn't take damage. But it's a matter of, I feel like you need to have more reliable damage.
All right, guys, so just want to throw in a little piece of information there. A little birdie just tweeted at me saying that Fnatic's time pool ran down to 0. They had no time left to actually discuss what they wanted to pick.
Oof.
That's
Man,
gonna hurt.
I feel like the pressure.
Yeah, that's definitely an indicator of how tight and tense they are.
These guys have a lot of history.
KT?
Yeah, they don't want to play Li Ming anyway, right? Into a noob. It's not ideal. And then they can get killed off.
They let it go through.
And then
The question is, do you go Kel'Thas, which seems like the likely choice, or are we going to be looking at a potential Grey main or both?
could be Grey Main.
I mean, Dig can do whatever they think is most optimal. They've legitimately faced this exact draft from Fnatic multiple times, and they've got a lot of what they wanted. Most of the times it showed signs of success. Fnatic was one of the few teams that was able to beat them when they had the trio in a dream situation, so maybe they are confident here, but realistically, again, it's just kind of a very rinse and repeat for them. I don't know if Dig's going to change the priority. They've shown they've adapted with Zagara in the current patch already, so I think they might have another kind of alternative route on it. It's going to be the KT, okay? And
Would you like to see a support pickup here to flex that into that last one, possibly if you need to go into somebody like Sylvanas?
I think I would like to see the flex unless they want to deny. I like Karazim and then just wait it out and get that adjustment. With Li Ming off the table, Zag off the table as well, I think it's going to be, it could be a Lunara, but I don't think so because Mane on the Kel'Thas. But typically we saw those be the 3 of the backline they would pick in this comp to pair with KT.
Snitch can also play Lunara.
There it is.
They're going to get Grey Main too.
Is it Lunara, a noob, or excuse me, Leo play? Or are they going to mix something up here?
If I'm not mistaken, it's been quite a while since we last saw Bakery on Karazim, like, on a big stage, right?
It's been a bit. They go with the ETC double tank. Okay. A little bit of a mix-up here, and what's the last pick? But I think it has been a reasonable amount of time.
And he's not nearly picking it as frequently as he used to in the past.
Yeah, he's kind of like, he'll take whatever support unless he thinks Rhaegar is a must-have early in the draft.
With ETC, do you think Karazim is still a safe pick?
It's less appealing,
It's
that's
less
for sure.
appealing because of the potential mosh pit. And that actually makes me wonder. I don't know if we'll see. I'm kind of curious on this last pick. I don't think. Yeah, I don't see any Brightwing games for Bakery. So I feel like this has potential to be an Uther over a Karazim.
Right. Uther especially very powerful with that Grey main, causing him to get unstoppable and invulnerable for a certain amount of time.
There he is.
Yeah, the ETC pick, I think, definitely forced. And I say forced lightly because I think despite some of the performances that we've seen from Uther lately in some of the regions, I actually think Uther is actually much better than people are giving him credit for. And then if you have double Warrior and then Grey main in the front line, you know that Wave of Light's going to get at least minimum of count himself, but it's going to get a minimum of 3 targets up there on the front line. So I actually kind of like that pick. Especially for this map in the denial. You talk about the extra range at level 1 now. It denies tribute. So I think you actually get a lot more value out of Uther than you would normally would against this comp and map. So I kind of like the pickup.
Dread, being a former or still being a support main, I guess you still are, right? You didn't abandon us, right?
I guess.
Okay, all right. So how do you build Uther these days? Because we have seen some variations in terms of W builds and still piano builds. So can you elaborate more on how to effectively build him these days?
It comes down to a bit of your fear on the mana. Most people, I think, is the optimal route is still going to be into a double W. And then actually traditionally at 7, I mean, Cleanse, Divine Shield, the very norm. 13 is still going to be usually a shrink rate. We've seen some North American teams, but not with much success, go with the auto attacks. And then 16's 50-50 right now. It's an option to either go for the 50% damage reduction onto a single target if you think that it's needed, or you can go with the Benediction still. And this type of composition, I think it's going to gain a lot of value on Arthas if he decides to go with the damage reduction onto his Q. But at the same time, if they're fearful of the kill potential, and if somebody's going to be diving the backline, the peel of double stun shrink rate is insane. So it all comes down to kind of how they want to play the compositions. I think I would be more worried about defending my Kel'Thas than I would anything else in this comp. So I think I would be worried about that. But at the same time, Dig is usually the aggressors when they have the Murd and Arthas. So you could see him go for the damage reduction as well.
Right, so you bring up a very interesting point there. Dignitas is considered to be the aggressors, whereas, Fnatic is more about peeling and defending their primary targets, like a Kel'Thas, for example. Do you think they can make that work? Do you think they're stable enough to do that?
When I look at these two teams, it reminds me of something in NA. Tempo Storm, Cloud9. When these teams get together, they throw down. And you kind of wonder who's going to pull it out. And we saw a little bit of shifting of the guard, you know, later on in NA. But at the same time, we see these two teams to where when they get together, it's almost like a gimme. It's 50-50. Who's going to win? And I don't think that one team has the upper hand, even though Dignitas has shown they've seemed to be the better team more consistently. When these teams get together, it's a coin toss for me.
Right, so let's imagine a worst-case scenario here for Fnatic. They drop this series, go down to the deciders match. Gilly, do you think they're going to be able to recover from that?
I think they'll be able to recover from it as long as they have like a pep talk, something. They get that break. That is going to be really important to them if they get to that point, right? During the losers match, they get to watch their opponents too. I think that they'll still be fine, but I think it would definitely be a big blow since, as it's been mentioned a lot of times before, there's a lot riding on this event and on their shoulders specifically.
Absolutely, and let's not forget about the prize money here as well. I think we forgot to mention it earlier, but there is a $100,000 prize pool here at stake at the second regionals here, and the winner not only gets the ticket to BlizzCon, but they also get the lion's share of 25K. I mean, I would get pretty nervous when there's so much money on the line.
I mean, I think it's very reasonable to get nervous with that on the line. I think it's incentive to play, but I think a lot of the players' money at this point with this matchup is pride.
Yeah,
it all comes down to that.
100%.
Dig right now is deciding, are we truly great? Can we? I personally feel like this is going to determine this whole tournament if they're going to be able to succeed internationally, right? Because again, it's like that. Yeah, we've already got our ticket to BlizzCon. We're already looking pretty in this tournament. Like, do we have the momentum, the motive to really just show no one stands a chance in Europe? It is, like, as Bakery would say, Europe is free.
Well, I don't know about that, Dread, but we'll see how free it actually is versus Fnatic. But I do want to mention that throughout this rivalry of this year specifically, since Katowice, every regional, Fnatic have only been able to win one match versus Team Dignitas. Dig have won 3, including the big 3-2 finals at Valencia. But with that finals, it still looked so close, and the one match they won was in the group. So really, they were ahead in the number of games when you look at all of them together at Valencia. I know that Fnatic can do this, but Dignitas, they're not going to go down easy. Even if they were resting, I think that they weren't maybe as true about that as they said, especially looking after that first match.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Fnatic, we see Wooby here and Quacknix. I mean, those guys are really the backbones of their team. They're doing a lot of the drafting, a lot of the shot calling, and let's not forget one thing. I mean, they're now an all-Swedish team, and you really can tell like how speaking the same language really like melts them together into one solid unit.
The thing that I want to, okay, when I look at these two teams, I see Bakery versus Smex. And Smex in Valencia, he stepped up. He made a name for himself. And I don't think the disparity between those two is that big. You look at the Warriors and you've got Breeze versus, say, either JPL. You know, they both play a lot of Murd. And you've got Alex against Wubby, kind of different players. But then I look at the backline and I look at Mene. And I look at the players like Schwempy, but mainly Quacknix. Mene, statistically, is the strongest player assassin in Europe. And then we look at the other side and we see somebody like Quacknix. Is he going to be able to make that next step? Is he going to be able to make the plays? Is he going to be able to get the kills and to be able to lay off the death? Because we look at KDA, like kill death or the takedowns to deaths, and we look at Mene, he is so far in the lead in this region. And we're talking about enough statistical data to matter. And then you look at everybody else, they're way behind. I want to see Quacknix step up.
Single-handedly annihilating Fnatic with that one Kael'Thas play in that game in Valencia. I mean, that was insane, spreading the bombs like there was no tomorrow. I think Mene is without a doubt one of the biggest threats when it comes to playing Dignitas.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say anybody else competes, to be honest. There are a few before that had a chance. For instance, Darkmok was kind of like one of those rare, had a very high amount, but after his performance in Valencia, not even really close. It's Mene and the rest of Europe.
Absolutely, and now I can feel the nostalgia level rising because our casters are slowly but surely getting ready. And if you guys have played Warcraft 3, you know what the favorite human-orc combo is. It's going to be none other than Grubby and Todd, so take it away, guys.
Now, nostalgia doesn't mean we're old, as Todd and
in this case, though, we are.
but it doesn't mean it, as we are here to metaphorically welcome you guys into our loving arms. I'm Grubby, and this is Todd. very psyched to be bringing this next cast to you guys.
It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a rematch of the last big tournament that we had in Europe. It was, again, Fnatic against Dignitas. And back then, Fnatic was up 2-1. Dignitas came back and won it 3-2.
Yeah, a very thrilling finals as that clinched them the BlizzCon spot. And now we're in a bit of a different situation. And there's a lot of strategy in the game, but there's also strategy in how you approach a tournament if you are Dignitas.
Yeah, it's going to be very important to take that win here. I think, obviously, it's going to be, number 1 place from Group A against number 2 from Group B. We're going to kind of, assume, say, Misfits, the old MYI, they're the favorites, I think, to take the first place in that Group B. If that happens here, whoever loses this match here between Fnatic and Dignitas might end up having to play those guys in the semifinals, which I guess ideally you want to try and delay that as much as possible. So a very, very important match here.
So this is a very important match, especially for Fnatic, and it looks like everyone is ready to get this show on the road. So let's jump right into the game.
Let's do it.
Here we've got Team Fnatic with Smexy on Rhaegar, Breeze, the captain on ETC, Quacknix on Palstad, Schwimpy on Sylvanas, and Wooby on the Nubrak. I thought that was going to be the other way around.
Yeah, no, I think their photos are inverted. Maybe
oh, okay.
That later. Now, on Dignitas, we're going to have Snitch playing the Grey main, JPL on Mirrodin, Alex on the Arthas, Mene on the Keltas, and Bakery playing Uther.
Yeah, we were discussing a little bit here as the draft was unfolding which support would be the one of choice for Bakery. When you have that Grey main, you can add so much added value with a support like Uther.
Yeah, and also there's a little bit of extra interrupt against the ETC, which could be very dangerous when Breeze comes in.
Exactly. Well, the game is starting here. We've got Fnatic here in the blue on the left side. We've introduced them already. And on the other side, Dignitas in the red. When you have Sylvanas, you can do something like a 5-man group up somewhere, try to bust some towers, but it's a little bit more risky sometimes on a big map. You could with the opponent 5v5. It's a little bit of a roulette. If you all go to the top, or maybe you trade, that kind of seals the fate for what happens next.
Hey, it looks though as if they might try for this, completely ignore the watchtower on the top side.
Imagine one of them is like, take the watchtower. It's like, dude, you just gave away where we are. You have a division.
I guess one of them. There is actually a very interesting dynamic with Falstad potentially flying there, but then that would have spoiled it even more that he was already up there.
They could go 5 bot. Falstad takes the top and then flies to the bottom lane to join, pretending they're top.
I talked about how it's important here to win that match so that, potentially the one winning team here might end up dodging Misfits. But an interesting thing to note is that I've been talking to a lot of pro players, and it seems like as of late, Misfits is the one team in Europe that's doing the best in scrims.
Okay.
Fnatic is second and Dignitas is third. So taking that in consideration, Misfits, you want to dodge them even more, than if we hadn't known that's there. And I'm pretty sure that both teams are very motivated to try and win. Although, Dignitas, again, they already qualified for BlizzCon here. Sure, they're playing for money, but they're not going to play, like their life depends on it here. They still got that big tournament later coming up.
And there is a lot of strategy, wouldn't you say, Todd, to the way that you can approach a tournament when you are not under pressure to actually win it, in terms of maybe fishing out the strategies of the other teams?
Yeah, absolutely. Or even just telling yourself, we're already qualified, let's just play for fun. They kind of touched on that in an earlier interview with Alex, saying that if they lost, they were going to be pretty cool about it, I guess. That's one way to remove some of the pressure that you might have had otherwise.
It's funny though, every time I've told that to myself in my pro gaming career, I always cared a lot anyway when I lost.
Yeah. That's what I said right after too. I was like, he might have said that, but I'm pretty sure that if they lose, they're not going to be happy at all.
Yeah. That's, I had a show match recently against some other caster who may or may not be at this event, and I told my guys, I was like, show matches matter, man. There's no prize money, but this is going to be one of the only matches that we'll ever get to play together. And when it seems like it doesn't matter, but when you lose, it's like, damn it.
Who was it?
It may have been Dreadnought.
You won?
No, we won.
Oh, nice. Very important. Get the bragging rights here sometime. Here between these two, it's more than just about bragging rights. The camp here will be captured very early on before the first tribute is even up from Fnatic.
So there's a bit of RNG here. If you get the left side siege camp, which goes to the north, you would ideally like a spawn of tribute right about now in the south. If that happens,
yeah, they get it.
That's good news for Fnatic.
So Dignitas might have to kind of stay at the top, with at least one of the heroes. Kel'Thas. Actually, Kel'Thas and Muradin were staying hidden in the bush there for a very long time, and now they're rotating bottom. Might be already very late. They're gonna get there as there is 5 heroes here from Fnatic on that side of the map already capturing, so they're gonna get there too late, but they've got the siege.
Yeah, they got the
Nice
bruiser
here in the
camp.
middle.
The
Yeah,
bruiser
the
camp
bruiser.
here in the middle. They try to get a bit of damage on the tower. The funny thing is, Fnatic is always doing weird things like that as well. This time it's Dignitas, putting 2 people in a bush where there is no reason for you to actually expect a trap. Oh my god, Quacknix.
Yeah,
Quacknix.
Bakery got blown up there, and Quacknix getting chased. Should be able to get away, I guess. Does he have barrel roll soon?
You just used it. It should be about on a 3-second cooldown right about now.
And then from there, be able to disengage. It was looking very good here a second ago, experience-wise from Team Dignitas, because they went very late to that tribute, so they prioritized experience. But with Bakery being caught and blown up, Fnatic has recomposed. And I guess, you know, there's always, sometimes, you know, you have one of the teams ahead by 1 level, but it means that there is only 1 wave of minion about to die on the other side. And as long as you get back on time and soak that, you're actually quite all right experience-wise.
Of course, Fnatic has a lot more long-range interrupts. That's kind of the biggest weakness Team Dignitas' team has here. 1, they don't have a global. And 2, well, that's 2 weaknesses. 2, they can't really poke too easily at attributes. That's kind of why they couldn't buy enough time for Kel'Thas and Muradin to rotate to the bottom.
How do you like that position here for the tribute? Do you feel like it's good for you or bad for you when you're on the left-hand side?
Usually it's good when you're on the left. It can be a bit awkward if you filter in from different sides. Ooh, Bakery again.
Maybe having a bit of an off game here, getting caught out of position is going to take a lot of damage. I don't think he's going to be able to escape here, unless...
Well, they're leaving him alive on purpose, so he's in a less relevant position to heal or something. You don't want to kill Uther too fast, because it's almost like you're still fighting 5v5. His sustained heals actually become a lot better when he's in his unholy, well, his eternal devotion.
And that's going to be a second tribute here for Fnatic. They're trailing a little bit behind on the experience, but I don't think they will mind. It's really a minimal advantage that Team Dignitas has got right now. With going for the Siege Giants first, it means that they're going to be able to get these Knights here next. And Dignitas, all alike, is now getting the Siege Giants. So the roles are reversed a little bit. And because we had a tribute first at the north and now at the south.
No, they were both at the south so far. So.
Oh yeah, no, right, they were both at the south. Okay, so the next one is definitely going to be up north. Yet they didn't delay the capture of the Sea Giants at the bottom.
Yeah, that's a pity. Of course, the tribute is going to be pretty fast, so it's almost just about going to get timed right. And in fact, we know the exact location of the next tribute. It's going to be on the top and then the most right-hand side, kind of the cubby hole where Muradin and Kel'Thas are now. That one. That's how the algorithm works.
Oh, it's a trap.
That's the most obvious trap location. Both early tribute spawns were really lucky for Fnatic.
Breeze gonna face check. Not really one of the most killable heroes, but he's gonna take a lot of damage here in the first place, going below half hit points. And that's a good setup here for them to get that surely. Fasta taking his sweet time actually to rejoin the rest of the team.
Yeah, he wanted to kill those Siege Giants.
They don't have to commit, I guess, because they already got 2 tributes themselves, so they might just be there to kind of slow the opponents down. But Fastat flies in, they might go for the fight.
JPL's position made sure that Quacknix couldn't power roll in after flying in and throw a hammer to interrupt.
And the Siege Giants were at the top actually still kind of pushing in a little bit. Finally gonna rejoin the structures here in a second.
In this lull of action, right before level 10, a quick talent overview. We've got Just Keep Rocking for Breeze on ETC to have less stunts every time he activates his guitar solo. And we've actually got the quest talent, Incendiary Elixir for Greymane. So not Wizened Duelist trying to stack up his auto attack damage, but actually adding a second dimension to him rather than just a bit of poke with auto attack and then jumping in. But he doesn't have any of these spread talents. So it's a short range, short AoE spread damage, but it does become very significant poke damage.
Do you think going Army of the Dead when there is already a Muradin with Avatar is justified, or?
The funny thing is, I used to think Army of the Dead as only a survival heroic, but it adds a lot of damage too, the ghouls. So it's actually pretty okay.
Yeah, but it doesn't freeze the opponents completely.
What was it?
It doesn't freeze the opponents completely like Syndragosa.
No, but
it looks a lot less cool as well.
I feel like Dignitas is playing Muradin a little bit as a melee assassin. Like he can jump in more so long as Alex holds the fort in the back.
Very ambitious Alex here, going forward, trying to cap in front of the opponents. Gonna be pushed back here for a second. And I think they might actually dive, or do you think Dignitas here, they might have to, because if they let this be captured, it's going to be a curse for Fnatic.
I feel like JPL puts himself there in the cubby hole to force the Warriors come to him and then maybe jump in on the backline, but for now he's playing it safe.
Yeah, Mene going to use the Flame Strike here to slow down the capture. Smexing style here, forcing maybe Dignitas to engage a little bit into Fnatic, trying to capture.
There's that effect of the Unstoppable no longer working on Murden's jump. He jumped away, but the Power Slide grounded him in place in an awkward location.
Oh, this might be a curse here. Grubby, Team Dignitas took so much damage there, trying to, I guess, take their time a little bit, regenerate those hit points. Many went to tap that well.
Also, I feel like every second they stay here is a second too long for Dignitas. You said it right, they're already damaged. They had nothing to do here anymore. Now they're gonna pay the price. Alex will not be able to get away, even with Icebound Fortitude.
And Greymane died even before being able to use Go for the Throat. Arthas gets chased down and sniped. And now Fnatic looking to try and get a few more catches here if they can, even going very deep. I guess the curse is on, so why not? And Fast at the bottom as well, pushing by himself, getting a lot of experience there.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that ask about how to properly use a curse on Cursed Hollow. There remains confusion ever since its inception. Basically, I think the #1 objective for the curse is to get all the XP.
Yeah.
All the opponent's minions are 1 HP. So if you're there when they die, you get the XP. If you're a second late, they're all gone. So that is #1.
What pro teams used to do of going for double boss, basically don't do that.
Yeah.
Just try to get a lot more experience.
You can use the curse to get double boss.
Quagnis flies in from behind here.
Yeah, I mean, that's a 3-man defense. When you have 0 defenders advantage, you're down a talent, the opponent has Falstad. It can be a miscommunication, but basically that's just a very poor mistake. I have to be a bit critical here.
Fnatic almost 2 levels ahead here. They've suffered so little structural damage, and with all 3 lanes being pushed so far out, they're gonna go for the boss. I really like this call here, because it's not like Team Dignitas can move in and defend that, and I think they realize what's happening. So they try to go for their own boss, but look at this. Already a big rotation happening from Fnatic. Looking to try and steal that.
That's a good choice. I was wondering why Fnatic is playing it so passively. I felt that maybe they could start the opponent's boss, but in this way, they've reduced the risk for themselves, and they rotate by far quickly enough to zone out this boss. And now Dignitas is in this awkward location.
Yeah. I think that's going to be a boss almost for sure for Fnatic here, unless they really mess up. Team Dignitas looking to try and fight for it. They don't have level 13. They're going to be 1 talent down here for this fight.
Oh, nice isolation there. Of course, Alex with the Divine Shield.
Oh, they got level 13 at the last second here. The fight is taking place here on the capture spot for that boss.
Oh, Fnatic is very low on mana.
Team Dignitas is doing pretty well.
Oh, nicely done there by Dignitas, yeah. It seems like Fnatic did a perfect isolation, but Divine Shield kind of breaks the rule there, doesn't it? It was a mosh pit on Double Warrior, but Arthas, he didn't have a care in the world for 3 seconds.
I thought that Dignitas was going to be able to do better here actually for a second, but Fnatic pulled back enough that they didn't really have to lose anybody. They blew up Greymane every time he went a little bit too far forward, but that boss, I guess, was captured by Team Dignitas, but it's not even going to do much. He's at the top, being defended by Muradin.
Yeah, what a world of difference. You've got one boss that can push by itself and takes away the whole wall. The other one doesn't even kill both towers of the outer fort wall because Fnatic was in a position to defend it.
And they even went for the Siege Giant here before heading home. Both teams, though, do.
Todd, I know you and I will have both put in a lot of thought into things like, okay, you're in a position where you don't need to win the tournament to qualify. You're already qualified for the big one, the one that everyone cares about, BlizzCon. But isn't it true that you set the strongest statement by looking like you don't try and then winning anyway? Isn't that how you bait out the most, the most potential of your opponent? You see the most serious strategies, even the pocket ones.
How would it look like you don't try, though, in Heroes?
Like this. Like, I mean, not exactly, but it's like, it's uncharacteristic for Dignitas to have like 3 people and defending 4 people under a curse and have the call be like, let's just stay here and try to mitigate damage. Like, I would think like a very sharp call would be just to give it up, just to reduce the risk of...
Yeah, that's a very good point, but at the same time, you know, the thing I talked about where Fnatic are doing really well. I was speaking with some players of Team Dignitas earlier, and they were telling me that they've been having really rough results, let's just say that, against Fnatic, so that could be coming into play. They really didn't seem that confident, especially for a team that won the last tournament, and that notoriously is known for not doing nearly as well in scrims as they do in tournaments, where it's where they win the most, right? When it matters. So I think they maybe let it get to their head a little bit potentially as well too.
I feel like everyone is using their head a little bit too much. In this case, like Fnatic is like,
Don't think, just play.
Yeah, just play. Like
that's what I was telling them.
Just win everything, and you can do no wrong.
I guess if you just try to have fun, right? Usually that's a good way to try and play your best. Obviously, don't take it too far, right?
There's a lot of controversies in your mindset, like a proper mindset management. You want to have fun, but don't be full YOLO mode. You also, what are the talent choices? Overwhelming Affliction, the slow. Sylvanas going with the slow at 16. And at the same time, you want to like not get too nervous, but you also want to care, but you don't want to care too much because then, you know, you can't accept losing and you never can guarantee a result in pro gaming.
Absolutely, yeah. Blood for blood on Anubarak. Got the Urge-Grab's Totem you mentioned. And Afterburner for the Falstad here on level 16. Team Dignitas here trying to hang in there up until the point they get level 16. And that keeps on losing some hit points, but if they do get level 16 soon and get a fight, might be able to do well. But Falstad, look at it, he's gonna fly at the top. He knows nobody can rejoin him there soon enough. He's gonna get a safe tribute, and there's gonna be 2-2-1 here for Fnatic on those tributes.
Fnatic is playing their map control really well by continually pressuring that keep. They can just get the free tribute without any risk, without any extended poke war, and they even got some keep damage.
You know how, like in Heroes, sometimes it feels like in terms of calls and team movements, there is like two best choices, and it's kind of hard to make one of them. So far, it feels like for the most part, there's been only one. And almost every single time, Fnatic has made the right one. Like now, the way they pulled back at the last second before the opponents got 16, went for the safe tribute. It's, you know, it's moves like this that can really differentiate good teams from great ones. And in the long run, that's going to help them a lot. I mean, they're going to be in a situation where if they get the next tribute, that's another curse. They're putting a lot of pressure right now on Team Dignitas, which obviously they got level 16 themselves, but they're going to have to start winning some fights here if they want to be able to do well.
And you saw the trap they just did in the bushes. It's that kind of thing almost where Dignitas feels like that's what they need to win a fight. Not the straight up ones, because there's always Mighty Gust, but to have a surprise. And Todd, there's going to be an awkward position here where the boss is up, the bottom boss, it just came up, and the next tribute is going to spawn. And Dignitas cannot afford to give away either one. The bottom boss will get the keep guaranteed. Maybe the core and the curse, it will do the same thing.
Yeah, both teams have actually some pretty good confidence right now, trying to fight one another. We've got the Siege Giants pushing in at the top, by the way, right now, which is going to be left completely undefended. Spawns on the left side here.
This is good for Dignitas, because both objectives, which can be a keep kill for sure for Fnatic, are in the same place. So there won't be a situation where Dignitas needs to choose, do we contest the boss or the tribute?
Oh, they're buying a lot of time here with all of their spells. Gust is going to be used here to try and make sure they can capture, and Breeze misses.
Yeah, Snitch's cocktail fell short. He didn't have the range, so he was unable to capture it. It was literally a stone throw across, but it was just a little bit too little.
And I mean, from there, they're going to be in a great position here, looking to try and chase down to get some snipes. Mene gets healed at the last second. If they go for the bottom boss here, they can clear through, but I think they might just go for the keep. And then for the boss, they get a snipe along the way as well. Might just go for the core.
Yeah, I mean, they can get the keep now, maybe go for the core, or they can turn around and get the boss. Which one do you think is better?
I think everything's good right now because they've got the curse and they've got a lot of momentum. They could just pull back, go for the double boss even if they wanted to. That top keep took so much damage as well here from Team Dignitas. I think the safe choice here is to just pull back and go for double boss. And there is almost no way here that Team Dignitas can contest properly. They're actually setting up a trap.
That's a 5 versus 3. That's good odds. Quacknick setting up for the Gust in case Bakery might get away. That's a Divine Shield. And Greymin is too far out of position. They can definitely get Bakery here, maybe more.
Yeah, looking to try and block that. Bakery having a really tough time here. HotS comes back to life as Uther goes out. And now that's going to be the guaranteed boss. So a really good turnaround here from Fnatic. Again, another great choice. They could have just, to be honest, run back, gotten the boss much faster there. But to turn around like this and snipe the Uther, now they make sure nothing can contest their capture of that boss, and then maybe go for the other one.
It's really good strat calling by Fnatic. They have the vision, they know how Dignitas is thinking. All they need to know what Dignitas is going to do is to ask, what would we do? We cannot give away the boss, so we know they're going to come, and they set the trap.
And Dignitas is trying to contest here without their healer. I don't think that's going to go so well for them. Alex gets caught.
A Breeze mosh pit, as this 5 versus 4 with the boss already can only end in one way, Todd.
Yeah, with a slaughter. And Keltas took so much damage. He's going to be trying to get away, but I think with all these timers being so high, Mene actually accepts his face, and he was setting up a trap on his own.
So he was like Salama, Ashelan, or...
And I think from there, Fnatic might be able to finish this and go to map number 2. Team Dignitas not finding any success here in map number 1 versus Fnatic.
If you've ever wanted to know what Bakery would do in his last few seconds on Earth, that's what it looks like. In the game, of course, in the game.
Well, usually he'd be saving someone if he could, but his team was already entirely dead, so he decided to rejoin them, to be with them, and maybe save them in the afterlife. But Fnatic, a very, very strong win here in map number 1. Very solid. They've got, I think it was 6 tributes out of the 7 that we saw here in this game, so not bad at all.
I think you're right. The first one took away all the 3 forts, the outer perimeter, and as Dignitas was pushed back to the inner ramparts, those were broken eventually in the next one. And I'm looking at the game stats here, and Sylvanas, Schwimpy, 69,000 damage, which is more than double than the highest dealer of Dignitas. It just shows how much control Fnatic had over the entire match. Excellent shot calling, made it look easy.
Sylvanas is good, man. Every time she puts those numbers, and I would rate her pretty high personally, maybe even higher than, you know, the times that we see her come out in some of these games. On the other side, I think he was...
Yes, Keltas, Mene, 33,000 damage.
Greymane didn't have the easiest of games just because he was going bad, you know? There's always going to be these games where it's going so well, where Greymane looks like he's like the best ever. But in a game like this, just wasn't quite able to do nearly as much as usually.
That's the thing with heroes like Greymane. They're purely damage-based heroes. They have no setup, they have no stuns, they have no wombo combos, so it's all about damage. If you're down a level or 2 or 3, that damage simply doesn't kill anyone fast enough.
Do you think he misclicked that cocktail when he was trying to interrupt the capture of the...
I heard there...
was it possible to...
No,
do
no.
that?
He was at max range. I was looking only at that, actually. And he tried... I think he even knew it wasn't going to hit, but he had to try anyway. It was like a 1 millisecond left. That was awesome. Let's jump into the analysis task, not physically, metaphorically once again. As Todd and I hand it over, and we'll see you guys in a bit.
Thank you very much, Grubby. And you jumping right into the desk would be a very scary moment for all of us. So thank you very much for having mercy on our souls. But yeah, I mean, Fnatic, they looked really solid. One could even say it was a game of gusts. I mean, the gusts time and time again, keeping Dignitas at bay. And Gerald, you brought up a very bold statement there. You were actually questioning whether Dignitas was even trying. I mean, at times it looked helpless almost.
I said that off camera.
I mean, now you're here on camera, so you better explain, dude.
You put me on the spot. I mean, the thing that I saw, I don't know, maybe Dredd, I know, can appreciate this, but the thing that I saw, I'm going the other direction. Fnatic, Smex, his cleanses were crucial, on time, every single moment that they needed it. He landed those. And it saved so much damage, it allowed them to regroup and then re-engage. And I saw it so many times on every single moment that they made plays where there was cleanses. They were on time, whether it was a gravity lapse coming in, whether it was different stuns. Smex is a new player to me. After Valencia, his coming out party, he's now what could be considered one of the best supports in Europe.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see one of those highlights, potentially even from Smexy's style here in that first replay. So JL, keep talking and do your thing.
That's actually one of the things that we see. This is a moment I think that we actually saw. We'll get there in just a second.
There we go.
There we go. This is the moment, the top boss fight here. And this is where, you know, Dignitas actually started to turn things around, but they looked, and you can see, you're going to see them gust away the pre-cleanse here. There it comes. It avoids the gravity lapse. He continues to stay. But you saw the D shield. Dignitas was putting up one heck of a fight. Breeze continued to stay on point. Unfortunately, he had to get out of there. But Dignitas, this was actually a really good moment for them. At the minute they got into 13, right in the middle of that fight, we saw the reaction there from Quacks. He's like, all right, guys, let's just drop back there. But
that highlight also showed something. Snitch on Greymane, going in a lot of times for targets, wasn't able to get the kill. Whether it was because it's Wubby on a new Barak, not an easy target to get there, or someone else, and Smex was on point with his Ancestral heals. And then all of a sudden Snitch is low, he's taking damage, he's like, hey guys, are we cool? Can I just back off? Oh, no, okay, or I'll die, that's fine too. But it was good that they were able to stay alive through that, because that was always pivotal for them to sustain through the go for the throats.
Yeah, I mean, Smexy, without a doubt, making a strong statement here, saying, I am going to keep my allies alive no matter what. You give me any support here, and I'm basically doing the same job, and doing that very efficiently at that. So, Dread, what do you think Dignitas has to change in the way they play the game in order to overcome Fnatic, and once again, basically repeat the success that they had at Valencia?
Quit picking Murd and Arthas every game. Obviously, Fnatic figured it out. They've got the key to the problem. They did in the grand finals as well. Like when we've seen this kind of combo played out from them, it's not that they can't be put together. I think it's the priority and how high we see them looking at those heroes that allows Fnatic to get a lot of free reign in the draft. And it worked early in Valencia, and it caught people off guard. But that's not the case anymore. Enough people have seen it. Fnatic obviously has the number now. So they need to make an adaptation in that sense, and I think a lot of it's going to come down to, I think their manipulation of their draft is going to be Alex's hero pool. It's going to cripple them on how they make that move, because that is why they have to prioritize it so highly.
But I remember when you asked Bakery if they were still going to run it, he said, people have figured out how to deal with it. So maybe this first game was just like
testing the waters.
Is this still going to work? Okay, no, we'll do something else.
Maybe.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, you brought up Alex there, Dread. He used to be known for his Chen plays for a very, very long time. Do you think we can still expect the Pandaren Brewmaster at some point, or has he fallen out of the meta entirely?
Tim is next.
I mean, yeah, he's got a spot. I just think that if you force it because Alex is known on it, especially with how weird he fits into compositions, unless he can somehow body a 1v1 lane, especially on Tomb. Other than that, he doesn't have selling points. Personally, I don't like him on Tomb so much because that 1v1 value, there's way better heroes, but then also the chase potential on that map is very limited, and he pairs well with Abby, who doesn't do too well on that map either. But we'll find out. Dig opening with a Zagban already.
Guys, what do you make of the absence of Illidan entirely in this tournament so far? Neither in picks nor in bans. I mean, we know that Dignitas doesn't really want to play that guy because it didn't work against Misfits, for example, at all.
Yeah.
But does he still have a spot in the current meta? And are there teams that can actually make him work?
He definitely has a spot, and I think teams can make him work. If you see him, it'll be on the back half of the draft more than anything. This is a map where I doubt we'll see him. There's almost no selling points, and Dig's already opened up with that Leoric, so already taking away the strategy from Fnatic.
You know, it was interesting. I'm kind of curious if we're going to see Falstad. You know, one of the things that we saw run so well in Valencia is the minute we saw the Entomb go down, Falstad was on the opposite team and just gusted everybody away. And nice Entomb, we'll see you again in 60 seconds.
Yeah, I think Fnatic needs to prioritize it, not because it's just a hero that they absolutely adore, but then the pairing and synergy that exists with the Leoric. It's something that is really awesome, because in case Leoric gets that awesome like respawn counter engage that he's so good at, you could still possibly have your Gus available to be able to defend against that. You can see they're obviously thinking about what else can we be going here. They're not so sold on the Falstad right away, which makes me a bit fearful. There they go. They do lock it in. I like that choice.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
I like that so much. And the thing that Tyrael does, you know, in certain scenes and in certain group comps, we see Tyrael is able to run as solo. In the European meta, I feel like it allows them to enable any other hero that they want, warrior-wise, to be able to pair up there with him.
Yeah.
And I just, first pick Tyrael Falstad against that Leoric. I like it so much.
A lot of teams will like putting a noob with them, and we've already seen how much they like to play a noob. I think they'd maybe put Breeze on the noob and then let Wubby play Tyrael, but either way, definitely a combo they can play. And I think maybe the thought was when they were debating is, do we get Greymane right now? Come on, it's Greymane. We want to play Tyrael Greymane. We want to be able to dive, but again, making sure that Falstad isn't paired with Leoric is going to be great for them. Dignitas moving into having Kael'thas again for Mene.
Is it a TAS? Are they going to go that style, the map manipulation? Fnatic doesn't have that good of wave clear yet. I don't think Dig will. They already have KT and Leoric, which is huge when it comes to wave clear department. Reasonable amount of kill potential. Fnatic has a very team fight oriented composition so far. So I feel like this is going to really kind of the turning point for Dig and how they decide they want to play this. Are they going to only worry about the map and kind of get that disengaged, sacrifice only the Yorkie and leave it at that? Or are they going to be worried about more, hey, we're going to team fights? And so far, it looks like map manipulation's the choice.
That was going to be my question. Is Lunara going to get through to Fnatic? Because we saw what Fnatic did. Quacknix in particular did with Lunara. Does this, I almost feel like Dignitas, we're going to see a gray main ban come up. Because looking at that backline of Lunara, Kel'Thas, you're like, wait a minute, we got to make sure these heroes stay alive. Leoric is not the hero to do that. You're going to need to pair somebody else up there. But that is so much damage on the backline, and they are such squishy targets that I would be extremely surprised if Dignitas doesn't ban out Grey Main.
It's almost like we're expecting or experiencing a deja vu from Valencia, Gilly, because once again, Dignitas uses the Lunara that Fnatic originally invented, if you will, and they're using it against them. Do you think it's going to work here?
That and Leoric.
Absolutely.
And yeah, Lunara is fantastic on Tomb of the Spider Queen. You get Nature's Culling, and it provides a good defense when your opponents get to the Web Weaver phases, so there's just not as much. And then on the opposite side is a really good offense to help enable those Web Weavers and get more damage done to structures. And we have seen how well a team can snowball Tomb of the Spider Queen, getting a couple of turn-ins in a row.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is what we'll see Dignitas really trying to go for in that early game.
And one person that is also missing from the Gamescom party so far is Zul. He used to be like a super contested pick a couple of weeks and months ago, but especially in Tomb of the Spider Queen, right? The wave play he provides.
Like it's EU. They made out Li Ming.
Zul map, like character in all, like all of Europe, it feels like. There's very few maps where we see him prioritize, and Dig banning the Li Ming and not Sylvanas is a pretty bold move. I think they've already dominated the wave clear department, and getting rid of the Sylvanas so that their opponents can't make up for, like, when they get that counter turn and getting huge value and counter response is actually really big. Fnatic has a lot of breathing room. I feel like if they took away the Sylvanas, I look at Fnatic and you're like, you're all in team fights. And if you don't win it, you don't win the game at all.
So here's the thing. Okay, so we look at Falstad is Quacknix's most played hero. He's also the only people that we have that shows him play in Sylvanas. So it kind of makes me wonder who they're going to have on Falstad and what their last pick is going to be. And Gilly, you talked about Anubarak being one of the pairs there with Tyrael. He's right there.
A diving buddy, if you will.
They're fun to play together, too. I mean, your backline is ours, is just how it feels when you play the two together. But what do we think Dig's going to be moving towards on the back half of this draft? Are they going to go the solo tasks? Are they going to make some adaptations here, maybe adjust it a little bit? I expect another tank to be coming out on their side.
Yeah.
For the most part, I think it's going to be the ETC.
Solo Leoric is a really rare sight these days. I mean,
yeah, unless you're maybe trying to do the crazy Tracer, Tassadar, Leoric disruption style, but that's not what I see here.
There it is.
Although, is this solo TAS or is it solo Leo?
I think it's solo TAS.
Okay.
It's going to be solo TAS with ETC.
If you go solo TAS with ETC, is
Stitches.
it? Oh!
He wants to play.
it's JPL after all.
Does that mean they play a backline poke comp and just try and hook targets in and
There's
get a
a
kill?
lot of escape.
I mean, there is a lot of escape. You've got Barrel Roll, you've got Eldruin's Might, you've got the Burrow from Anubarak, and they are going to go with Sylvanas.
Yeah.
So that means Schwempy should be the Falstad player, with Quacknix being Sylvanas.
I think
maybe vice versa.
Yeah, but we'll see. I mean, Quacknix, knowing him and his love of Falstad.
And then we just talked, unless you get, well, let's see, we have other than a gravity lapse, there's no hard CC there.
In Tomb?
And then, but we talked about in Tomb, yes. But the amount of movement, you've got the haunting wave that can come out from Sylvanas. So you kind of sometimes run into, you have to be on point with your combos. You get the hook in, you better have that gravity lapse on point. You know, we saw it in the last regional, I believe, and there was some plays. It might even have been the Summer Globals, but the minute that came in, they had somebody like Karazim to solo. Obviously, they're running solo tasks here, so I feel like it's going to be very dependent on landing the hooks, following up on the hooks. Landing the hooks are great, but if they get any type of movement away and you don't have that hard CC with the gravity lapse, it's a wasted hook.
They'll have Force Wall too, so maybe they can hope to bait out some of those escape things and then pull in and use one of those movement blockers. I'm not sure, but yeah, definitely Gravity Lapse will be a good follow-up.
It's like the only follow-up.
Yeah.
It's the only hard CC follow-up that they have, which means that they have to be extremely coordinated.
They don't want to hook. That is the last thing Dig does this game. I genuinely think their comp is going to be, I like it better than the ETC version. This is actually, it's a really beautiful comp. They rotate around the map, and you need your tanks to have sustain. Stitches has got the sustain, but the last thing you want to do, like you saw Fnatic, they don't want a true fight. You sacrifice Leoric whenever you have to, but you manipulate the map, you outpoke your opponents and put yourself in a great position. Then when suddenly they aggress onto you, which False says the only true hard engage they have in their composition, you bile. Then you back out, they're weak, you're winning the trade, then comes in the hook. Only when you're on the retreat and they just further their advance into you. They have to win the waves, but they are not engaging with hooks. They're using that as like a backup plan, like, oh, now you're trying to run away? Nope, Chuck Test, the hook comes in and you're gonna be, I mean, it's done.
Stitches definitely adds a whole new element in the dynamic of this game, but how do you think is JPL going to build Stitches? I know we've seen like bruiser type builds are almost, like where he doesn't take a single tank cell at all.
Last night, Dread, I talked about Butcher. I love the fact that EU is outside of the Butcher play itself earlier. Dread, who was the #1 warrior? I said most underrated warrior.
He's a Stitches fan.
I'm a Stitches fan, okay? But the new reworked Stitches, I'm actually really curious how he's going to build him. I have some thoughts in mind. Dread and I is like, I haven't had as much time to try him yet. We're going to find out. Today is the day. You got two top teams. You've got Stitches in play. You're
There's secret bad going on behind the stages here that we don't know of, Gilly.
I think they bugged our hotel rooms. Just saying. Gee, how guys onto something.
You know, he's sold on the heal, the passive heal.
On 4.
Concentrating on the passive heal and then
talent.
moving into a stone skin, which I strongly
No. I said stone skin has value. I didn't say I didn't say definitive
You
pick.
don't want fishing hook?
I'm just saying.
It'll be pulverized.
How dare you?
No. I didn't say that was the definitive. I said the 4 heal talent one.
I like pulverizing this comp though by a lot.
It's gonna happen.
A lot. I think the CDR, the peel again that it provides. Yeah, pulverize at 16. I like the fishing hook. Again, the hook is just like a. That's pretty neat that you get it, and it helps their team fighting a bit. But I really think, I mean, Dig innovated on this comp, and I think it's far better than every version we've seen so far.
All right, but I have just received word that our casters once again are ready. Guys, give it up for Todd and Grubby, who are going to tell us who's going to win the second game in this winners match of Group A.
We have just been elevated to clairvoyance. Omniscience not on our skill set yet. It's probably the only skill we don't have yet, right?
Yeah, the pressure, man. It's like we're going to throw it away to Todd and Grubby, who are going to tell you everything of the future.
How about you look at the right side core, I'll look at the left side core, and we're just going to let people know when one of them blows up, and we'll know who won.
Sounds good. Let's do that.
Welcome back, guys, to us as we get this second game here set up between Dignitas and Fnatic. So we were talking a little bit about, is Dignitas taking this nonetheless, despite all their best intentions to sculpt this story of not really being invested in the outcome, did they nonetheless experience that as a slap in the face, and are they going to get fired up?
Possibly, yeah. You know, sometimes you want to remove the pressure, but you remove it a little bit too much that you don't try nearly as much as you should be. Nobody wants to travel. You know, obviously they don't live super far, but they traveled all the way here to Cologne, Germany. Nobody wants to travel this much to then go out early in a tournament like this. So they're going to want to try maybe a little bit harder here, and they are going to have to certainly to play better against a Fnatic that looked so strong.
Exactly, yeah. Well, we're ready to jump into the game, so let's take a closer look at the individual components, the 5 fingers to the fist of Team Fnatic and Team Dignitas. Here on the left side, we've got Smexy, of course, on Rhaegar, Breeze on Tyrael, Wooby on Anubarak, Schwimpy's playing Sylvanas, and Quacknix will be manning Falstad.
And on the other side, from Team Dignitas, we've got Snitch playing Lunara, JPL on the Stitches, of course, Alex the Prodigy playing the Leoric, Mene on his best Kalthas, and Bakery playing the Tassadar.
It's so funny when you talk to Mene. He's like, I am so happy when I play Kalthas. I want to play him all the time. Something like that.
And he's been, for the most part, to be honest, in a lot of tournaments. He played so much Kalthas and always has done well on it.
Yeah, he's a very safe player that puts out a lot of damage. As an assassin, he prioritizes staying alive a lot. There were a few surprises here in the draft, Todd.
Yeah. Starting with Stitches, are you kidding me? I'm so happy to see it, but at the same time, I look at the compositions, I'm like, it's going to be hard to make it work, right? They have to kind of hang in there.
I like the Dreadnought's analysis of it, where you don't use the hook to start a fight, because that's just going to get cancelled out by all the abilities of Fnatic anyway. But you use it as a get over here when the opponent's trying to run away.
Absolutely, yeah. That could come in very handy, but at the same time, from someone as good as Fnatic, who've got some good escapes on their team, it's going to be very hard to pull off. Like, I'm having a really hard time picturing it working here. But then again, that's why these guys are pros, and I'm not, right?
The best moment where you can hit the hook is where the opponent doesn't have a choice but to run away in a straight line, because they're fearing for their life that much. Those are the most guaranteed to work hooks.
It's going to be a lot of glove collection here with the level 1 talents from Team Dignitas. 4 of them looking to try and collect as many of these as they can. First hook lands once TRL gets out of there.
Even reanimation here, chosen by Alex the Progi, not going for the very popular range talent, 25% bonus range on Drano, neither going for block. Reanimation hasn't been as popular because it doesn't give the health buff that other Regeneration Master talents offer to any warrior. It's only a reduction in death time, so maybe Alex is planning to spend a fair amount of time as a walking Watcher Ward in Ghost form after utilizing his trait.
That doesn't sound like a promotion at all.
It's a tough job. There were a few surprises in the draft. I expected Fnatic at the point where they had Tyrael to also eventually round out the draft with a Kerrigan. And they have a composition here that really comes into its own at level 10. Once Tyrael gets Sanctification, that is how the game is supposed to get played for Fnatic. And very much there is a case of time pressure here. At Team Dignitas, they picked up the double poison damage heroes, Kel'Thas and Lunara. And Lunara specifically is one of the heroes that scales the best into the late game. And she has a 5% scaling for her poison damage, which means if you can get to level 20, 25, that's great. And we had a game exactly like that in the grand finals of the previous regional between these two teams. So Dignitas is buying for time. Fnatic, in between level 10 and 18, they'd like to end the game.
Yeah, I think if Team Dignitas, get some kind of early on lead and keep it, they could be in a very good position here to do well. But that's going to be the real challenge there. They do have some, I guess, somewhat decent blow-up potential. Like if they land a hook followed by gravity lapse, and they're all near whoever's getting hooked, they can blow them up very, very fast. But other than that, everybody pretty much should be able to get away, except maybe other than Rhaegar. But that's why you stay very far behind if you're Smexy style here.
Yeah, well, that was a very sweet hook. It's well put, the plan here, and that's basically what Dignitas is looking to do in the early game. The more they can get any kinds of early pickoffs with hook, even though maybe it'll only work once out of every 5 hooks, the more of a buffer they'll create to go into the late game, because level 10 is extremely strong for Fnatic. And that was the second surprise in the draft, really, for me. When Team Dignitas banned away Li Ming, with all due respect to Li Ming, I really thought maybe they'll remove Sylvanas or Kerrigan to remove one of the 2 heroes that can really snowball an early advantage into the late game and perhaps prevent Lunara from becoming that late game monstrosity.
Yeah. And JPL is getting warmed up very well, by the way. He's landed so many of these hooks already, and although they've not been able to really snipe anybody just yet, even removing, half hit points from someone, telling them, be careful, I'm on points, be ready for the rest of the game because I'm going to be landing some of these hooks, and potentially, if fishing hooks come into play later on in the game, this could be every time. Yeah, it's not even particularly useful.
But he's proving that he can do it. There's all too much of that sometimes on ladder, proving that you can do it, only to have the pulled in one become the assailant.
Alex might go down here.
Watcher Ward.
If there was a talent, imagine where every hook that you land, you get more range as time passes by. Right
so
now,
sick.
it'd be already be going pretty far here with JPL.
I feel like you can play Stitches for hundreds or thousands of games and never get the kind of hook game sense that JPL might have. I feel like he's a very talented player.
I'm proof of that.
Level 30 Stitches.
Ruby gets in there, and again another big hook. This time Briz is gonna take some more damage, but be able to get out on time. And honestly, going into this game, I really thought that Team Dignitas were gonna have to be the one playing defensive, but so far,
Well, it's because
looks like they just keep on going forward and smashing through.
But it's pre-level 10, right? It's at level 10 probably that Fnatic will take back some advantage, so Dignitas is trying to create that buffer. After that, it will be like disengaged city for Dignitas, I think, against the comp of Fnatic.
You think it's gonna be Entomb for sure on the Lyric?
I think so. Even when the opponent uses Gust, and every single time it's 1-for-1 and Tomb for Gust, at least you don't have to deal with Gust in the fights that you really care about.
Well, what do you think about this? With how good JPL is with the hooks, if he waits until somebody has used his escape or used a spell out of position one time and then he hooks Team to end to trap
Just
someone.
blind at Tomb, not even seeing if it...
Just roll the dice.
It's possible. There's so many things where if you want to make them work, it doesn't because you're not playing in a team. It's like, oh, maybe if I play with a team, this is a team. They can do anything they want.
Even Force Wall potentially, like a lot of good zoning tools here on Team Dignitas.
They can even play the strategy which I call cork the wine bottle. Bottle up a hero in a tomb and then cork it up with Force Wall, a full wall, a panic room. Just put someone in with Leoric and there's no way out except if you blink out. Or power wall, or like bro charge.
Yeah, maybe just hook and tomb, and then the force wall is the backup wall for when the guy uses his escape.
Yeah.
That's a lot of poor theorizing here by us, I feel like.
Imagine if there's a hero in the future sometime which can put a roof on the entomb, and then it's like you force wall close the door, and then you put a roof on top. That'll be so sick.
His name is Butcher, and he can chain people.
That's true.
We're going very far with this
You're in the doghouse. In the meantime, they're struggling over paying more gems. A huge hoard of gems here for Fnatic, but they haven't been able to put in any more than 13.
Some nice experience lead here for Team Dignitas. I'm pretty sure they're gonna want to try to hang in there, keep up with that lead, and then on level 10 try to get a bit of an earlier engagement, which Fnatic should be looking to try and dodge if they can. I don't think any major takedown will happen before that.
The way that the fight will go probably for Fnatic is Anubarak jumps in, gets a multi-stun, Tyrael Eldruin's Might in, and maybe Sanctification, Wailing Arrow if the opponent groups up too much. There's a number of engages, none of them really to pull the enemy forward, except if somehow Falsa dares to jump in and gust them into a corner. Heroic choices have been made, no surprises. Phoenix, Forceful, Putrid Bile, Entomb, and Thornwood Vine. And here we are, the choices for Fnatic: Wailing Arrow, Sanctification, Locust Swarm, Ancestral Healing, and Mighty Gust.
I guess, actually, Locust Swarm wasn't really necessary here, but they're gonna catch Bene a little bit out of position. He gets saved at the last second, and here Team Dignitas is looking to try and somehow win this fight.
The Locust Swarm, it has the higher win rate on the ladder. It has damage, it has self-sustain.
Usually it's the opposite, right? Like you'd want to go against what has got the highest win rate on the ladder, no?
You think so? Just like, don't go.
All the time it's like,
if you're a rebel.
Yeah.
No, but it offers self-sustain. It can even change your playstyle. Things that otherwise would not be feasible, like jump the backline and just say like, YOLO, it works with Locust Swarm. And you really put a lot of pressure on a Kael'thas or Lunara.
Yeah, I guess I talked a little bit about the blow-up potential too. I don't think that Cocoon was like super necessary here either. You have to be careful there actually. Team Dignitas staying very far out. Snitch, he's tempting the devil there.
Final.
It's so tempting, you know, with Lunara. You're just right there, you're like, come on, just did a spare to forward.
Yeah, we saw that a lot from Quacknix in the previous grand finals between these two. Forward positioning, standing in front of your warrior as a ranged assassin is generally a bad idea, but Lunara does it a lot. Because of her kind of wonky movement, you can both dodge skill shots as well as have that average 20% bonus movement speed to like kind of get out and get away with your poking.
Yeah. But when your only support on the team is Tassadar, you might want to be really careful here about this, because the shield's not always going to be enough, although doing a fantastic work here so far. Full level ahead here for Team Dignitas, really finding their momentum in map number 2, looking to try and push the top lane here with 4, and leaving just Lyric in the middle to do a one-on-one with Farstad.
I can't help but feel that Fnatic is not where they envisioned they would be. Of course, they're never where they wanted to be. Everyone wants to be 9 levels ahead. But somewhere around level 10, you would hope that they take a fight, because they don't have the better late game composition. so they need something now. And it's almost level 13 Dignitas. And they're getting a lot of siege damage. It's now 6 forts versus 3.
It's not even like they can engage really or do anything. You know, you talked about the disengage potential from Putrid Bile. There is also Force Wall. So for them to say, you know, they're almost level 13, we need to fight and go for a big fight, that wouldn't even work, right? I think Team Dignitas would just disengage.
Exactly. It's like almost at this point, the only way is if Dignitas first puts themselves in a position where Anubra can burrow charge the backline. That has to happen first. And that is really the only way that it can start. The other way is Fnatic jumps in and gusts a team, but that's so risky because then you don't have Gust anymore to escape an entomb.
And I mean, Fastad also needs to be pretty careful. Can get blown up very fast if that goes wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Crushing hope now for Leoric. We've got Mega Smash for Stitches. This is first slap talent, really. Might be looking to pick up the slow, the pulverize at 16 instead of Fishing Hook. We'll see. Prescient. We've got Pyromaniac, which means more abilities every time living bomb ticks go off, and unfair advantage.
With how well it's going so far for Team Dignitas, we actually catch Wooby at the top here, looking to try and get a snipe. And the really lamps and get him a big snipe there. Quickly, whoa! Yeah, I was gonna say Team Dignitas, they don't really need Fishing Hook here, to be honest. With how well this is going,
yeah, I almost feel like it's gonna be a guaranteed pulverize because of the level 13 Lunara just take, the unfair advantage. More poison damage every time someone is slowed. And Stitches can do that every 6 seconds.
And with the timer on the Nubarak there, they're gonna go for the boss, get it very safely. Alex can get out very easily too.
The thing is though, Fnatic hasn't paid once. I don't know if this boss does enough to justify giving a Web Weaver to Fnatic. Fnatic can group up as 5 in the top lane if they can disengage from Leoric, which means the boss is easily defended. That's the first pay-in that they get. So that's a bit of vision and map control that Fnatic gets back. I feel like it's often a mistake that the winning team is doing to get the boss if you thereby give away a pay-in.
But Team Dignitas does have some very good depushing heroes, right? You know, they've got...
So you're thinking this isn't going to do any damage, so it's okay, it's just minus 50 gems
I
for
guess
Fnatic?
Maybe like they let them get the turn in now, and then they plan on winning the next fight, and not let them have any gems for the rest of the game potentially, or even not even go for a turn in again.
Yeah,
you know, they minimize the damage. Look, they already defended here pretty much. Only the top one is coming in now, but it's too late. They're already going to group up and defend that very easily. And then all they have to do is hang tight until level 16.
But this is it, right? Like, it's not 16 yet. There's still half a Web Weaver. They are a force, like they're a team that needs to fight now. What is Fnatic waiting for?
You feel that strongly about the fact that they need to fight now?
I think so. Like the power of Lunara, it's almost like Sauron's ring. It cannot be denied.
Oh, that's what I was talking about. If you use your escape a little bit too early, you might get trapped. But the Ancestral Healing does land here. Wooby's still taking so much damage. The Phoenix almost finishing him off. Gonna be able to barely get out. And Tassadar was so low here. He might have to pull back on his own.
Oh, there's that hook that Dreadnought was talking about. You can't get away from us. That's one kill. Wonderful.
A single one.
It's so sick.
So crazy to land so many in a row against a team as good as Fnatic, man. I would have made 0.
He missed one. The Falstad that showed up for a second after Nubarak died top left.
He meant to.
He wasn't ready to hook. He's got commitment issue there.
Level 16 finally coming in. And we've got Mega Smash selected.
Yeah, it's actually Fishing Hook after all, not the Pulverize. Consume Vitality for Leoric. We've got Dimensional Warp, Sun King Fury, which is still at level 16, and then Starwood Spear, the bonus range for Lunara. And you know what? Dignitas, they're looking to expand upon this. They've got the level 16 talent. They're just going to go and apply pressure.
Can they land some more moves here with that extended one? Would it be funny if JPL started missing every single one now? Actually, I'll be really sad.
He already missed one.
Yeah.
That would be the second one.
Don't jinx it. So Weaver's finally coming in here, looking to try and fight with being one talent up. Who does he land it on though? That's the thing. If he lands it on someone that has an escape, he can just get out immediately. So he's kind of hoping that someone overextends, they can do some good damage, maybe on a Nubarak or even TRL, and then he lands the hook.
He's not making it obvious who he's going for. That's really cool. I was trying to see who he's going for. He actually went for Tyrael. They blew him up to 400 damage. Ancestral Healing and Sanctification comes out, but Tyrael has to disengage. A beautiful hook. very low HP here on Team Dignitas. They're nonetheless pushing it forward.
Gust is still up here. Falstad might have gone for a play, perhaps, but he wants to play it safe here for now. Wailing Arrow is still up. But being level 15 against 17 is always very hard, you know, to actually turn and say, okay, we're going to engage now, so...
Yeah, I mean, Falstad had Fly available. He could have ideally... hey, look, that's us. He could have Fly behind the opponent and Gust in the team, but as you said, talent down is risky.
Yeah, looking to try to get a keep here. They cannot do a lot of damage to it.
JPL with the hooks! Oh, the Entomb! Alex, the Pro-G in the perfect position. Bug couldn't go anywhere.
Warriors are being hunted down, man.
It's insane. I thought it's like, don't focus the warrior, right?
Oh, the Gust here.
Oh, the Wailing Arrow!
Locks a few people down at the bottom. Breeze taking a lot of damage here. Might turn around to try and blow up some people, but so far it's Team Dignitas that's doing really well. With 3 takedowns here, Smexy would have to pull back. And the keep goes down. They might just go for the core here, although they're very low.
The hook cooldown is at 4 seconds. It's at 3. They'd ideally like to get Smexy at some point. He's got 78 gems, but they didn't really need to. They've got 2 keeps down. 6-4 top Todd against the Sylvanas team.
Oh man, this is brutal here. JPL just refusing to miss hooks, landing some key ones all the time. The follow-up, to be honest, like sure, landing the hook is impressive, but the rest of the team has been so good about being perfectly placed, gravity laps landing every single time. They don't even have that much stun and lockdown if you think about it. It's just really like how synergized they are with one another that's making them successful here.
It's really beautiful. It's almost like an art. You get the hook and it goes into the gravity laps, and then Alex, he's already practicing moving forward to stop the disengage. So we keep talking about all these escapes. These hooks, they're useless. There's Burrow Charge, there's Eldruin's Might. How about catching someone twice? I love it.
Get multiple chances here.
Level 16 finally reached for Fnatic as the action is heating up here again. We'll mention them in a second when there is a lull. Certainly not the case. Putrid Vow engaged by JPL.
Holy Ground is one of them, actually. He could use that very well here, but so far taking so much damage. Ruby can save that the last second.
God, how about getting trapped in an Entomb with the wall already there and a Phoenix blasting away at you? Forces out the Sanctification. Oh my God! Well, he already threw down his sword.
So sick. We thought the same thing here. We thought that it was going to be bad, but no. It does get out this time. And somehow nobody died here.
Yeah, you can't take damage while you're in the hook. So like right before he presses Eldruins, he could maybe take lethal damage, but it was such a small window.
The Wailing Arrow is still up. It feels like it's so much harder for Fnatic to set up the right fight. Like the one fight that they did well was the one on bottom left when they finally got a Gust, because maybe Dignitas were a little bit too far out. So like this is always going to be hard. Breeze taking so much damage, falling before anybody else can be hit here from Team Dignitas. And I think they're going to look to try and basically kill everybody, and 2 completely misses.
It's a luxury problem at this point, as Team Dignitas is in hot pursuit. Smexy gets gravity laps. Mene on point here. The hook lands as well. Beautiful.
And I think this is going to be it here. Grubby with 3 heroes down. Dignitas is pushing forward. I don't know why Ruby is hanging in there. He really wants to buy a little bit of time, but he might get blown up if he does. Quality's taking so much damage.
Look at that slow. What a win. Dignitas really showing up here. Maybe a little bit what we were referencing to, that little bit of shame-faced cheeks, as you did not give as good of a showing as the European champion should be, even when you don't have the qualifications at BlizzCon to worry about anymore. A wonderful game, GG, as Dignitas evens it up, and we get treated to a 3rd game between the 2.
Really good game. Always happy to see Stitches come out. There was a time, every time he came out, he was losing, but guess what? He's back here and he's at the top with a big, big win there, and a textbook, really good game here from him, played by the JPL, man. This makes me want to play some Stitches, but I'm going to be really sad every time I miss a hook.
And even if you hit them, there will not be the 2-step follow-up plan from Alex and Mene to secure the kill, even on someone slippery as Nubarak with the Burrow Charge.
The execution was just so good. You would think, like, because there is so much escape, this is not going to do anything. That was a lot of people's initial thoughts, myself included. But in this case, Team Dignitas, once again, they go out there and they prove why they won the last big major tournament over DreamHack Valencia. That's because they are that good.
That's true, Todd. This is Team Dignitas. Not the first game, this is it. And they have 8 takedowns to 1. They win the game with 4-level lead. And they didn't have to wait for the late game of Lunara.
Yeah, Fnatic though, a pretty rough loss here. When looking at their composition, I didn't particularly dislike it, but...
I disliked it. I mean, without Kerrigan, they didn't really have the hard engage. Only Gust or mispositioning by Dignitas. And I just feel something rubs me the wrong way when the only thing that you can rely on is the opponent misplaying and then getting a good fight out of that.
It feels like maybe they needed to take risks with that fast start and the Gust. And Quacknix, to be honest, is a really good fast start, right? He's been playing it for a long time. So I guess if he didn't go for it, he knew better and he knew that he was probably going to die very fast if he went behind.
Well, maybe we'll see something different coming out in Game 3. That was an excellent game. We're going to pass it over to the analyst desk. Have fun, boys and girl.
Thank you very much, Grubby and Todd. And let me put it this way, guys. From a mechanical point of view, this game was heaven. I mean, the way Dignitas made Stitches work by hooking Anubarak, bursting him down quick enough, forcing out his E, and then following up with an Entomb, that was absolutely fantastic.
What we saw was that E, I believe, came up a little bit early. He's like, I'll just get out of here. I'll be in a safe spot. And then the minute that he came up, here's an Entomb, and then they followed up. And, you know, there were some great counterplays. If Smex continues to make the plays that he's making that I've saw
his ancestors are really good, actually, every single time.
Everything he's done today has been on point. I think that guy is top tier right now. His support play is absolutely phenomenal.
He's been on fire, but one thing I noticed, too, with this composition is that Dignitas would use the hook and it would force out the mobility like you were saying, but they also were forcing things to be used defensively that they did not want to use defensively. That is, use Sanctification or Gust just to get out of trouble. And then all of that's gone, and Dignitas are like, we'll continue to fight then, if that's cool.
Yeah, basically Dignitas was in a commanding lead the entire game. They never even showed a sign of weakness. They always knew what they had to sort of put, they knew what they had to do to put Fnatic under pressure. And I'm pretty sure that we're going to see exactly that in the first replay, Jehao, that you prepared for us.
I think we're going to see exactly that, because that's what we saw a lot of throughout the entire game. The amount of pressure that they were able to put on, whether it was the engaging hooks that Dread wasn't sure if they were going to use. They didn't necessarily use them to engage hard. They used it to engage when the opportunity was there, and that was the biggest thing. And we're going to see here, as there's Wubby very far in, you're going to see him go in on Anubarak. He goes out, burrows out, and the fact that he didn't go out that far, there's the Entomb, and the placement on that is beautiful. But there's the Ancestral that lands. Guys, they're not done. The synergy between Alex and JPL is great, because they go back in, and JPL's not done yet. He's going to say, hook you very much, and he's going to go ahead and grab himself another target. And you can see the follow-up that they had. It was, do they have the hard CC? As you saw the follow-up there from Kel'Thas, was able to get the gravity laps in there, and there's the team kind of celebrating there afterwards. They're feeling pretty good about themselves after game number 2, because game number 1 looked a little bit rough.
I mean, there has always been a variety of Stitches combos, if you will, like hook combos, right? It started all off with, I think, Stitches Torrande. Then for a very brief amount of time, we had Stitches Zombie Wall, Stitches stunts in general. Like, how did you like the Stitches Gravity Labs follow-up there, Dread? Do you think that's something we can expect to see more frequently coming out from different teams, maybe?
I don't know of that many. JPL is without a doubt the best Stitches in Europe, so I think it fits their playstyle a lot more. Also, Mene has had a lot of practice as that follow-up because JPL plays it so much. Like, you saw there was like 3 hooks that game that didn't hit, that a blind Gravity Lap still comes out every single time, because he's throwing it out because he can't predict if he's going to hit it 100%, but you can't leave any moment of difference between that hook, because otherwise, you're going to see the burrow. So they were doing a very good job of pairing the two together. I don't think we'll see too many other teams pull it out, but the Dignitas does it very, very well every single time they play it.
I think part of the reason why Wubby was the one getting hooked too is, I mean, obviously he's a warrior, but he was up there using his abilities, trying to get the Scarabs out so that they would feel more comfortable being able to not get hooked. They're trying to block it, but unfortunately for them being up there, JPL was still able to find a way.
How about that one at the end of the game, by the way? I mean, it was just, I don't think they needed it, but the one and the Mighty Gust was there as like, oh, too little, too late, but the hooks are on point. I mean, they were so good.
Yeah, and the only target that really didn't care about the hooks was Turiel, of course. We saw that one hook where he basically just pressed Q, like, boop, got away using Eldrin's Might. But now we're diving into the final draft of this best of 3, guys.
Oh, man.
It's between Fnatic and Team Dignitas still here.
Like
this is the winner's match. The loser drops down to one last decisive match, or best of 3, against E-Punks there, and or E-Punks or 2Bs, if you will. But we're going to see how they kick things off here.
Did they
Just
watch
blew
the
my
game
mind.
before?
That just blew my mind. Not only the lack of play on the side of Fnatic, but also Dignitas has just adored the strategy. In this rotation, they choose the map, they know they're going to be second pick, you pick up, if you don't take the Kerrigan, they just instantly rotate into this Kerrigan, Arthas test.
Fnatic's not getting full stat.
What happened against
Adapted.
TBD when they went against Sylvanas? They got bodied.
Yeah,
They got bodied
True.
hard. I think Keldor put the timestamp on his 7.5 minutes and the first keep went down.
Yeah.
Right.
So it almost, you kind of see this to where you see a hero do really well and you're thinking, all right, I need to prioritize that. So it's a little bit weird that it's first pick. I mean, I think that they can still easily find a composition that can fight well around the shrines. It's just a little bit surprising. Not extremely surprising, but it is first pick for them.
This is, again, an adaptive series between the two. We're seeing a lot of strategies come out, and it is so interesting to see Fnatic forego getting Falstad there. On a Battleground, he's good on, and getting Sylvanas instead, and Dignitas are going to still get Arthas to go along with Falstad.
Yeah, not surprising there. It's a hero that they value very highly on the map. Shrine control that he provides is very great. So now Fnatic, they've got to figure something out here on their next two picks.
Dread, what happened to one of Europe's, specialties, if you will, the Diablo and Infernal Shrines?
That's a good question.
That's a very good question.
He's not so great in double warrior-ish. He depends a lot on kind of misplays, and I think that's a part of the reason why he's less common here in Europe so much on this map. But also he doesn't, I don't know, it's just he has a different playstyle, and a lot of other heroes that are pretty good against him have gotten a bit better. And map control seems to be the main focus, whereas it used to be teamfight centric. So I think that's why we've seen a little bit less of prioritization. But even if you were to take Diablo, I'd like to see on the back half rather than the first half. And then Fnatic picking up the Orc, I think that's really good choice on their part. It seems like it's their go-to strategy.
I wonder what would happen if Smexy was the main drafter and he couldn't pull off those shenanigans anymore.
When I was over there, I could see their chat, and Webby was like, I'm always the one who has to sit.
Right, yeah.
Why is that? Ooh.
Taking away the Murd instead of worrying about a ban on the back half, are they going to worry about something like an ETC in that case, since they've already picked up their double tank, or is it going to be a new Barak? Because he also thrives in a double warrior, and on this map specifically, I don't know, either one of those double tank pairings is scary. So Fnatic, I think it's in their best interest to possibly leave both up unless one directly counters what they're looking to do. They have a reasonable amount of interrupts for the ETC, but overall, this draft is adaptive.
So Sylvanas in double warrior comps it's a different dynamic. It involves a lot of front control, but then Sylvanas isn't necessarily known for the burst damage. So you kind of have to have the right assassin to pair with her. A hero like Greymane thrives on somebody that's whittled down to about 70-60% health, goes in, gets the blow up, because he can 100-0 somebody, but it's very difficult. And so a Greymane fitting into Fnatic's comp is a little weird. Kel'Thas, I feel like that's going to be picked up by Dignitas or banned out here. Li Ming doesn't pair very well on this map in particular, especially on this map, and then especially if Dignitas opts to go a Nubarak. So I'm actually kind of curious what Fnatic's game plan is when they do get the next pick.
Lunara, and then I think it's going to be Zag ban. I think the Lunara ban was really heads up from them. And I agree, like the Li Ming versus the Zag. KT's up too. I don't know if I think I would rather leave.
One of those is getting picked up.
I think I would rather leave the Kel'Thas. Maybe, I don't know, maybe not. That is kind of a Dignitas special there, whereas Zag, it's a little bit different though.
What if they just pick up Greymane here? They've banned Lunara, they've picked up Falstad. What's Quacknex going to play?
It's a good question. Guess we're about to find out. I really don't like the ETC ban on their half. Their opponents are going to be picking up, like a Nubarak is still value. I don't think.
If I'm not mistaken, Quacknex actually tried to play a lot more Li Ming in the previous series and tournaments.
On Infernal though?
That's a good point.
That's kind of the biggest thing for me is, does Dignitas hold their warrior pick and hope that they go somebody like Li Ming and then like last pick a Nubarak? Or it's definitely going to be Zag or KT in this rotation. It's got to be.
I think it'll be the Kel'Thas just for the control and kill potential, and Mene's so good on it.
Yeah.
But Zag is something they prioritized a little bit higher than on some of the other maps, and it's a hero that they recently have found a little bit of appreciation for a bit more. Rhaegar is not surprising. The shrine control that he has on this map being one of the
They
dominant
seem
heroes.
to like what they got. They just
Jaina.
Oh. Something that Dignitas showed for the very first time here at this tournament, the Jaina.
I almost feel like that gives KT to the hands of Fnatic. Like, I feel that fits into a little bit more of the burst damage. They have control because you get the Shadow Dagger out, Leoric's able to kill stuff, but if you throw that Q in there, that Flame Strike, it can steal skeletal defenders. It's nice that you can whittle them down, but if somebody comes in and takes them away, that's very difficult to deal with.
Yeah, it's a battle of the area mages between Blizzard and Flame Strike. Giant Flame Strike. But I like that we're having to work Jaina back into our ideas of damage dealers after a little while of her being gone.
Thank Mene.
We have so much to thank Mene for. That's such beautiful plays. All right, support. And one more damage for Fnatic.
I have no idea what their DPS is going to be.
Oh.
I mean, the Karzim...
They're going to dare them. They're not going to... I feel like Anubarek's got to be that last pick, right?
Nah.
For Dignitas. For Dignitas, sorry.
I don't think so. I don't think Dig has to. I think they could go into the Grey Main depending on what they want to see. I don't like it into the double tank, so it probably will be the Anu.
I don't... Guys, we haven't seen Sonya. I almost forgot about her.
Yeah, it's...
Hello?
Melee assassins don't exist anymore. It's all double tanks.
Fnatic
Sonya's
doesn't
a warrior.
play her. Neither does Dig.
There's Kel'Thas.
They give the KT, and then in the Anubarak. Is it going to be?
I feel like they hold the Anubarak pick strictly to see if they're going to go mage, and then he can go dampen magic, and then
Zeratul instead?
Or wow. I did not see that coming.
Is that going to be JPL on the Zeratul?
JPL will be playing the Zeratul.
Yeah, it has to be, yeah.
Interesting. I mean, he has played it in the past. In fact, when he was forced to switch roles because of Alex's addition, he was actually playing a lot of Zeratul, if I recall correctly. And he made it work pretty well.
Old school Wombo combo.
Ring of Frost, Void Prison.
Ring of Frost, Void Prison. Void Prison coming first. Ring of Frost.
Pendulum Blast.
Oh, Gilly, let's not get crazy.
Man, you should have seen Gilly's face. She was genuinely excited about it.
She was. It still could happen. I mean...
easy there, Killer.
The choke points are there. I don't think it will, but the old VP Ring of Frost, I think, is a very real threat this game.
Right.
I dare to dream of a day, Dread, when Pendulum Blast will be back. And we'll... Judgment, we've seen some Judgment kind of recently.
It's had a moment.
The crispy taco.
Yeah.
I miss those days, man.
I'm just trying to figure out this draft right now. It's taking longer than I'd like it to in my head.
Zeratul's a weird pick for me.
The Wombo, okay, it's pretty and it's an option, and there's a lot of characters that are vulnerable to the Zeratul threat onto the backline, but
there's no real threat to Jaina, though. There's nobody that threatens Jaina.
I agree. There's very few characters that can go in and make her be in a rough position overall. I think Dignitas they took a risk with the Zeratul. I don't think it's a bad choice. I just think that they didn't need to take it by any means. They already had a really well-rounded composition. I think pairing around a Wombo-centric style play is not the best. You can get away with it, yes, but it's just too straightforward again, kind of like what we've seen with like 2B's Determined, that's playstyle. So I like it, but I did think it wasn't optimal.
All right, so very quick resume here. Who do you think is going to come out on top in this very interesting and very exciting best of 3? Is Fnatic going to pull it off this time, or is Dignitas coming?
I believe in the power of the Wombo combo.
Right.
It's crazy map, but I believe in it.
If you had to take a guess here, Gilly?
I think it's going to be Fnatic.
Fnatic, Dret?
Fnatic.
Right, really cool. So without further ado, guys, let's throw it over to our casters, Todd and Grubby, once more to determine who's going to advance and who's going to drop down to the deciders match.
Well, it's going to be either one of these teams, Kendrick. Don't you think, Todd?
Yeah, that's very possible. I don't think we're going to have a draw here between these two.
No, I don't think so.
Cool draws, man. I was so happy that Stitches came out, and now it's Zeratul's turn. Apparently, it's not Kendrick's birthday, it's mine here today. Getting
Very
all
cool.
my wishes.
You were wondering whether Zeratul was going to come out at some point, and I was skeptical. And here we are with Arthas as a solo warrior, solo tank, if you will, which is kind of okay if you have a kind of setup for the fight. Very cool. It seems like everyone is ready. Let's take a look at the team overview. Once again, here on the left side, we've got Team Fnatic now 1-1. They want to qualify for BlizzCon. Smexy style, but on Cara team, Breeze on Muradin, Wobby, Leoric, Shrimpy on Keltas, and Quacknix on Sylvanas.
And on the other side, we've got Team Dignitas with Snitch going to be playing the Falstad, JPL on Zeratul, HotS is played by Alex the Prodigy, Mene is on Jaina once again, and Bakery with the Rhaegar.
And there used to be a time where JPL played Jaina for the team as well. He had this cool Ice Flows build, the Cone of Cold build. Was wondering if he'll play it again, but of course the roles aren't like that anymore. It seems like you just put JPL wherever there is a vacancy, as he can pretty much play just about anything, it seems.
It's actually crazy how many heroes he can play and how good he is with them as well. Like, just had a fantastic game on the Stitches. Not too many players can actually play Stitches very well.
Yeah. And there we go. Once again, you've got Sylvanas, so you can pick a tower, point at it on the globe, on the battlefield, and just say, let's take out that one. If the opponent is in the wrong position, then you'll just get it in 5 seconds.
Yeah, earlier she came out on Curse Hollow and they went to the top lane, but back then were stopped by 2 of the heroes that were there. I think it might have been Muradin and another one. Oh!
Wow!
Eagle Eye! Games,
Apparently not invisible nor invincible, just slightly camouflaged.
That was cool here.
There was an Eagle Eye there by Breeze. No hesitation whatsoever. Stormbolt right to the face.
And I mean, Breeze, like he's been playing his Muradin for as long as I can remember. Like, if you think Muradin, you think Breeze pretty much immediately.
Yeah, exactly. Should come up with a Breezadin skin, Muradin with blonde hair. Wouldn't that be weird? Wait, he already has it.
What do you think in terms of heroics here, actually? Because for some of them, it feels like it could be up in the air a little bit, or do you not think so? Like, for example, HotS?
You think some kind of experimental Syndragosa Bloodlust comp coming up?
Hinterland Blast, okay. Just picture it. Void Prison, Cone of Cold.
Ring of Frost?
Ring of Frost, sorry. Hinterland Blast, Bloodlust, Syndragosa. I rest my case.
And then, no further questions from the prosecution, as I think we all know the value of this line of argumentation. Hinterland's Blast, one of the best double auto attack in a single spell damage. You can do the value of 2 auto attacks with a wind-up time in a big beam for a 120-second cooldown.
Quacknix getting caught a little bit here at the bottom, gonna be able to make it out, and the first shrine's gonna be coming up. I really like actually both of the drafts here in terms of how much they play to the map. You have Leoric on one side that's gonna get some good clear against the skeletons here when the shrine do come up, and on the other side, HotS, I mean, one of the best on this map. Earlier, we already saw it being run on this map. There was actually even a Sylvanas with him on the team, and I think he was TBD that did very well with it in the one map that they won against Fnatic. So looking to try and repeat that here on Dignitas' side. And they get a very huge head start here. 14 skeletons already to 0.
And they're all level 4, so it's not like they're going to be weaker in any sense. But what do... Wow, JPL and Falstad together got Sylvanas, who was on the right side of the map.
Whoa, JPL is having a difficult game here on the Zeratul. Now, might have to get out of there. Already 24 skeletons, though. I think they're just gonna maybe just stay on this and make sure that they secure this. And with Sylvanas here going down early on, it's actually gonna be very hard for Fnatic to defend this. I think that's a sure here. They've already given up too. They just pull back.
Now let's see what Dignitas can do once they have the Immortal. You've got that situation where the Immortal barrels down the enemy gate, and then the defenders can choose to pull in the stun, where he will jump over and isolate him away from the enemy heroes. You can dodge that stun as well with a character like Muradin. Breeze is setting up for just that. He's gonna be there bolted, jump away so you don't get stunned, because there can be follow-up. Team Dignitas, they could throw a frozen waste there from Arthas, get a bit of bonus damage from in, and just put the warrior at half life. And sometimes they can extend the health of your push.
It was very important to get this one Immortal, by the way, because they are facing a Sylvanas. If you start securing these Immortals and you have a Sylvanas on your team, I mean, TBD destroyed Fnatic early on this map completely. That was a very one-sided game. They took a fort with the first one, a keep within a few minutes, and then from there they snowballed completely out of control. So a big win early on from Team Dignitas, and you need that again.
Team Dignitas has 5 heroes who can wave clear really well, so they basically have more wave clear power, but Rhaegar and Zeratul need to be in melee range to do it, and they are probably the most vulnerable heroes on Team Dignitas. Fnatic, they only have 3 wave clear specialists, Kael'thas, Leoric and Sylvanas, but they can do it somewhat more safely, so Dignitas has a slightly better wave clear comp, but if Fnatic gets it, like you said with Sylvanas, they'll probably get more value out of it than what we just saw.
Zeratul going for seasoned marksman, by the way, with how he got blown up before. He's gonna have to be super careful. He steps out of position one time, he's gonna die pretty much instantly.
Yeah, that's crazy. Going for seasoned marksman with Vorpal Blade to increase the stickiness and then follow through.
The stickiness.
Yeah, well, you know, how well he can pursue an adversary.
Such a grubby way of saying it. Is why I was saying something. Quacknix here capturing the bottom camp. And experience-wise, virtually identical here for both teams. Leoric coming back at the top here, just on time to secure some of those minions. I really like the dynamic here of getting these camps. And it seems like Fnatic really wants to put a lot of effort into this. They even still stole the opponents on the other side a second ago, and now they go for their hard camp.
Already 5-man grouping at this point, and that has to be somehow a nod of respect. Not just to how far the lanes are pushed, but also to the fact that you're going up against the Zeratul. A lot of people on ladder ask, how do we... in the meantime, in the bottom lane, there was a bit of a scuffle.
In the mid lane, actually, he did a lot of damage to that Sylvanas that had to pull back.
But just, people ask, how do I play against cloaked characters? Well, first of all, learn how to see them. Sometimes graphics settings can help with that. But also, don't be Little Red Riding Hood. Don't go into the woods alone.
Yeah, that's like, wow, splitting away from the group in a horror movie. Usually that guy's there chasing you, stalking you, and doing a lot of damage. Good little lead here for Fnatic, 11 skeletons to 4, but I'm pretty sure we could have a very big fight here, because both teams seem to want to come into this one. Frozen Immortal here.
The funny thing about this position in particular, the objective, is that there is an attacker's advantage, which is why you see both teams very hesitant to go in. But like we said, Wubby, Leoric, he can do a very safe wave clear. He's always got the Wraith Walk to go out, so he is putting a lot of skeleton kill pressure there.
Yeah, all alike. The HotS on the other side is doing the same thing here with Alex. 31 to 14 here. Fnatic still in the lead. Slight experience lead here though for Team Dignitas. If they can slow this down a little bit and take a fight when they've got their heroics, this could be a big win. But they give it up.
The problem is, right, like even though Arthas can do almost like even a better job than Leoric, he loses the 1v1. Every time a Drain Hope is attached, he's got to go back. So Fnatic absolutely have more control. They deserve to get that one, and they did it very well. Now let's look at the value of Sylvanas. Void Prison on the Immortal and Sylvanas. Bring them fast!
Yeah, they were trying to engage before that Punisher can do too much damage. They do blow up the Kael'thas there. Mighty Gust gonna be used here to disengage a little bit. That Punisher finally comes into play. I like this play here, this attempt by Team Dignitas, because if you just let the Punisher go in and push in when there's a Sylvanas as well, you're gonna take so much damage. But now was it enough here, the one snipe that they got, to maybe engage into the rest of the team and get a win?
I think maybe it was 5 versus 4. You've still got ancestral healing. This fort has 80% plus of its life. That could have been a dead fort if it goes differently. Want to point out the beautiful cleanse that Smexy did there on Karazin. He completely prevented Sylvanas from getting rooted in the Ring of Frost. She took some damage, but there was no follow-up. Unfortunately, you can only choose one, and Kael'thas happened to die there, which did take the teeth out of that push.
Yeah, experience is still very, very equal here for both teams. And JPL, by the way, has been a lot more conservative after the start and the first 2 times here that he fell. So for Noise, actually that VP was pretty good, I think. But he needs to keep up. If he gets caught like 1 or 2 more times, the same thing as before is going to happen. Actually, as I say that, he almost ran into a bunch of heroes there that were waiting for him.
But it's cool, right? There's so many layers to playing a game well. It starts with knowledge, knowing what to do, knowing how to counter certain things.
Ooh.
And JPL has decided that the counter to Sylvanas with the boss, he has decided together with his team that a Void Prison either on the Punisher or on Sylvanas somehow can isolate that away. So you don't have to fight a 5v5 with attacker's advantage, because the forts get disabled, the Punisher stuns and damages people, so the attacker will always have the advantage. That's their counter, and we've seen it once, we're going to see it more.
What he just did was pretty crazy, actually, going in like this, you know, using 2 spells and then blinking out.
What if Murden jumps after you?
Yeah, it could be very risky. Funking with my heart here a little bit.
Oh, no, no, no.
You always pick up so fast on these bad jokes, Remy. I love it, man. You got my back.
If you don't have a real sense of humor, you need to pick up fast on bad jokes. So I do what I can.
Another shrine here is going to be coming up in a second. Fastas still soaking at the top. I think both teams looking to try and secure level 13 before any kind of big engagements. Having Sylvanas on the team, though, if Fnatic was to stay in one of these lanes and try and push in level 4 for as long as they can before going for the shrine, that could be very good. But no, they're just going to group up. I think both teams are close enough to level 13 that it makes sense. You talked about the dynamic of Arthas against Leoric on this shrine. So let's see here if once more it comes into play and Arthas has a difficult time.
Yeah, I think it might. Leoric will be looking at Arthas, while I think Breeze's job this time will be doing exactly what he did at level 1, which is to Stormbolt and keep away Zeratul. He doesn't want to allow Zera to get the jump on Quacknix as Sylvanas anymore.
Leoric's coming in. They don't have level 13 here. Fnatic engaging could be a mistake. Let's see, they're getting so close.
The level 13 advantage lasts for a second, two more. Beautiful there. Smexy is choosing to save Swimpy, but dying in the process. The double Ring of Frost. We see the combo in perfect execution once again. This time, no cleanse.
And with their healer out of the picture here, I think this is going to be a sure punisher here.
Yeah, this is so sick, Todd. They had like 5 seconds where level 13 wasn't reached. You were pointing out that Leoric, he was trying to get that, Wubby, trying to get 13. And a 5-second window gets utilized. How often do you see that? That Void Prison was a screen away from the team, and they still managed to follow up. He's like, come on, guys, let's get in here, pile in.
And then from there, I think Dignitas is going to want to look to try and get as much damage done here with this as possible so that they can get an even better experience. At least they know that staying in the middle of the map is going to be very hard for them to go for the keep, and they might get the wall at best. So I really like this. They rotate towards the top lane, but Fnatic is going to try to, I guess, defend pretty much immediately. So they're going to be pushed back, and you're going to want to wait until all of these hero rakes are up before you go for any kind of fight. Ideally, you want to be up 1 talent, but now 4 not is going to be a little bit unrealistic because they are not even 15 yet.
That's true. They don't have to fight here. Heroics aren't up yet. 20 seconds or so until the next engagement. And Fnatic, they don't know the cooldowns exactly. You can't see your opponent's cooldowns, but they've got a pretty decent idea that it might not be back yet. So they're starting to put some pressure here because they feel the game, it's not out of their control, but it is slipping away a little bit if they just play into VP every time.
Mene went for the Icy Veins, by the way, on level 13. We got Wormhole for JPL, and considering how crazy he's been playing with some of these blinks, I can't blame him. I think he's going to be pretty good. Relentless on the Karazim.
Yeah, and one cool thing is also, if we look at the talents one more time, Leoric going for a full W build at 1, 4, 13, just really focusing on his engagement to the enemy warrior.
Oh, VP going to be used. Let's see if they can queue everything. Oh! Wow.
So sick, and they're delaying the kill on Quacknix. Divine Palm will not proc. Beautiful ancestral healing there on Zeratul. This is a wipe.
Yeah, this Ring of Frost always coming on time. I thought that Jaina might be zoned out here a little bit for a second, but triple takedown. They could actually go for the chase, but when you have a Leoric and Muradin trying to escape, I guess it's pretty hard, so they just go for the 4th instead. It's funny, like Sylvanas just, she's not the one pushing this game, let's just say that. Structural damage has been very minimal here for Fnatic.
She tried that once at level 4 to kind of linger around a little bit longer, and JPL found her immediately, managed to finish her off. So those little early fights, they don't always mean a lot, but they really show what is going to happen if you isolate yourself. And meanwhile, level 16 has been reached off the back of that. Remorseless Winter, which is going to give Arthas the roots. We've got Earthgrasp Totem, a root, almost a root. Airy Gust combining with that Flow Rider for Falstad for cooldown and movement speed reduction. Cooldowning.
They trapped JPL and Sneech with Sneech Barrels out of there. JPL looking to pull back just on time. Didn't take too much damage, remember, he went for Seasoned Marksman.
Yeah, he doesn't have self-healing. He's relying completely on Rhaegar and Regen Globes here. And Dignitas, they're not ready for the fight yet. They need a little bit more time, maybe about 15 seconds.
They got a pretty good head start here, 19 skeletons to 13, and now actually still missing a bunch of their heroics. They might have to wait a little bit. I guess Gust is the one that's going to take the longest, but doesn't directly do damage, and it looks like Fnatic might be giving this one up, knowing that they don't want to take yet another fight without having a talent less.
This is so sick, the way that JPL is hunting down Sylvanas. I get very much a visceral image here of JPL being like the mother lion and setting up prey for his little cubs, and Mene is one of the cubs. He's like, here, go ahead. I found lunch for you. Every time, all he needs is a 2-man target. Sometimes 1. He's not trying to go for the 5-man VP because he knows, that'll never happen.
I have a very different vision. He's like the leader of a lion pride, and he literally goes forward and leads the way for the rest of the pack.
With swagger and everything, let's go.
The wolf pack, man. Fnatic looking to try and hang in there. They've got level 16 now, so if they went for a fight, they'd be equal on talents. I think they're waiting for that Punisher to be gone, but it's going to be another Ring of Frost. That's not cancelled off time here from Zeratul. The Void Prison.
160, 100, but the gust away, and Murden survives with just 50 lives. So sick. And this was a beautiful play here by Quacknix on Sylvanas. That Wailing Arrow prevented the follow-up Ring of Frost. And if you can keep doing that, they will have effectively nullified the Dignitas' wombo combo.
What a turnaround here. They do get a takedown, but I guess just one here, not going to be enough for them to really say that they're coming back into this, but definitely a big save here. They did lose the keep at the bottom.
Especially since the Sylvanas thought, like, how far can they take this?
Well, apparently they're going to open without her on the snipe on that one. Fort at the bottom.
I'm surprised. I thought maybe they'll go to the keep, but maybe they feel like they leave their flank too exposed, so instead they'll try to just peel away in general the middle line. And the value in that, of course, is they haven't had a healing fountain near one of the objectives in a long time, and they're taking away 2 of those now.
Still a lot of heroics missing, actually, even on Team Dignitas here. It seems like they have heroics that take a very long time to come back, and I guess they're not gonna engage, like it's never really going to be relevant in the sense that they're always going to wait until they make sure that they have all of those. But if they made the mistake one time of engaging a little bit too early, when they're missing one of those, it could be a big mistake. So
yeah, they could be disastrous because they won't have as much battlefield control without those. 3 forts is the value of this Rhaegar kill, Todd. 3 forts. In the meantime, level 16 has of course been reached for Fnatic. Let's just see if this is going to be a fight. Doesn't look like it yet, so I'll go through them quickly if we can show the talent. Sun King, Fury, Kel'Thas. We've got the stun, heavy impact from Muradin. Circle of Life, more healing. Imposing presence on Leoric to kind of mitigate the Zera Falstad damage. And then Cold Embrace, vulnerability for Sylvanas.
Ooh, are they going to engage here? JPL still hunting. He's coming in from behind.
That's a VP, possibly.
He's delaying it a lot, actually.
He is.
So we're going to have to gust away.
They want to deal with Breeze in the backline first. Mighty Gust, isolated Breeze. Breeze has the resistance now after Dwarf Toss.
Ooh, Quacknix here. Almost behind in enemy line for a second. They're going to be able to pull back. Sun King's Fury is still available.
Gravity
level
Labs.
16 here for now. Was moved to level 7 in a new patch.
Yeah, and changed in its core functionality.
Level 19 against 18. I guess you're happy to take this fight here, but not having Army of the Dead is going to make it very difficult for them to win the fight. But I guess Avatar all alike is gone.
Yeah. It's Gust really here that's the problem, because it's such a tight corridor here which you need to pour into to contest the Shrine. And without Gust, you could be really caught in a poor position.
Yeah, we've seen Gust into 5-man mosh pit here. I think it was over
right
DreamHack Summer from a Chinese team in the corner.
We'll be attaching that W again, the Crushing Hope, the Drain Life on Arthas. So sick. Whenever you get that, Leoric is nigh unkillable. And Arthas is such an easy target, having no bonus movement speed.
And Dignitas is really trying to bait like a perfect Gust here. They keep on pulling back. They're waiting for Fnatic to group up so that maybe they can VP all of them or maybe Gust all of them into...
Oh no, the Blizzard already hit.
Time this time.
Third Blizzard Wave hits, Ancestral Healing on JPL once again, putting pressure on Swimpy there. Zeratul as he jumps back in with the Vorpal Blade.
Yeah, that Ring of Frost every single time does so much and set them up perfectly to win the fight. Gonna be blowing up Wooby here if they can. Bakery gonna be chasing him and takes him down. And with those 3 takedowns here, that's gonna be a very easy Punisher, which actually they can delay quite a bit if they want to. And that's the Arcane, by the way. That's the Arcane one that's gonna come out, the meanest of them all.
That should be game ending almost. Dignitas, generally the way you play this, you leave the best wave clear person on the Shrine. With 4 you push in. You're at worst you're 4 versus 2. Maybe Leoric comes back 4 versus 3. At the very least you open up the gate and you try to set up the win condition. Getting ahead is always cool, but if you have a chance to end it, that's always going to be safer.
Yeah, sometimes it's a debate though between trying to get more ahead or just trying to end it, which could be a mistake at times. But here it's looking really good for Team Dignitas here to try and end this after a very difficult map number 1. They bounce back Gonna be getting right in there here.
Nice Wraith Walk. Of course, this is a strategy. This is a careful control of the AI, of the Punisher, pulling it to the mid-keep. All the heroics are back here for Fnatic. Void Prison not yet available, so even though you're down a Storm tier talent, there is a small chance here for Fnatic to defend this.
At level 19 against 20 makes it so difficult. They might have a small window here before all the heroics. Actually, Ancestral Healing was down for a second, and they take the safe approach of just pulling back here. Although it was just level 19 and half from Fnatic, I think they realized that they were missing a few of the heroics.
Yeah.
They wanted to play it safe, wanting to try and maybe get another one of those Void Prison into Ring of Frost.
Yeah, one of the crucial questions here of the enveloping strategy has been answered. You were kind of referencing it. Will they ever fight without Void Prison? The answer is no. They're not willing to bet everything here on the core. Meantime, the level 20s have been chosen. Team Dignitas, they've got Rewind on Rhaegar and Zeratul, Epic Mount on Falstad. We've got more ghouls for Arthas, Legion of Northrend. And Jaina, Mene, even though he hasn't died once yet, goes for improved ice block anyway. And it isn't just about, let's delay my death for 3 seconds, or I'm really afraid I'm going to get prosecuted, chased down by the opponent. It fundamentally changes the way you can play your hero. You can be far more aggressive, actually put in more damage, and just block a bit. Level 20s have been reached for Fnatic as well. A sigh of relief, no doubt, at least mentally, as Master of Flames gets big. Rewind on Muradin. Peaceful Repose, which again, it changes the playstyle. You can use Divine Palm, even knowing it might not get procced, just to save a person for 3 seconds, and then cast it again 5 seconds later. Spectral Leech and a Bolt of the Storm on Sylvanas.
And actually, the Void Prison into Ring of Frost has been catching a lot of the time Sylvanas plus Kaltas, which I guess kind of shouldn't happen in the first place, but now if it happened, I think Sylvanas could just bolt out of there and Kaltas potentially be saved by the Clans or even the Palm, potentially.
You'll have Sylvanas shouting something like, I have Bolt, don't cleanse or Divine Palm me.
Yeah.
Even then...
A good thing would be to say it now, right?
No, but it's like, do you still have the cooldown up, like while the VP is there? But one thing to note is that there is a chance that Ring of Frost hits anyway. Because once the VP comes up, you hit the Ring of Frost. If Sylvanas is in between spamming the key of Bolt of the Storm, then there could be like a 1 frame where it hits anyway, but it'll be difficult.
All right, this could be the big fight here that decides the game. 1 keep is down right now for Fnatic. They're gonna move right in there. 2 skeletons to 13 right now. They catch
he has rewind, but will he get stun locked?
Oh, a big takedown here.
Oh,
and
Bakery!
Straight away behind this, he has no escape.
And the Wailing Arrow as well. Wonderful fight here by Fnatic.
Wow.
They get 2.
They hang in there somehow the entire game. It's Nighting down to 4. And although they lost a keep at the top, they managed to finally do it. They won a big fight later on in the game. That's going to be a sure Punisher here for them. And then from there, they might be able to get a keep. I don't think they're going to be able to finish the game, most likely, because that's going to take it's going to take some time for them to finally get this. And by this time, 2 of the heroes of Team Dignitas are finally going to come back up. They're going to try to look and defend.
Yeah, the Fallen Shaman, this one that summons the doggies, he's really good at pushing forts and keeps, but he doesn't do much against the core, because in order to attack the core, he needs to get in the range of the core.
Look at how far out Falstad is at the bottom here.
And
I think he was maybe trying to pull some people back in that position.
He got half a keep worth of damage. And he knew his teammates aren't there yet. Oh, okay, yeah, maybe.
I don't know, I think he wanted them to make a mistake and pull back, and now he comes back. He's going to ghost everybody away as they take down the Punisher. It's the Mortan one. Not nearly as good as the Arcane one, but still doing a little bit of work. He will be taking so much damage, almost going down here. And apparently, Team Dignitas, they don't care about the Punisher. They fight right next to him, still take some damage from him. But they do all right, and the keep goes down here in the middle of the map. Do they want to chase?
Well, there's a choice for it. Zeratul has Void Prison. His blink is on cooldown. It's going to come back in about 3 to 4 seconds or so. Cleanse being used on JPL to save him from the slows.
They still have 3 heroics against the 4 of their opponents. I'm not sure they exactly realize that, but this might be why they're not engaging here right now. Not having neither Gust or Army of the Dead would make it very difficult for them to win that fight. Especially like Wailing Arrow in particular is something they really need to worry about, because that can change the whole fight.
And that is the main counter here for Fnatic, and they've used it once or twice super effectively already. Team Dignitas, Hearthstone was necessary for JPL because he was low, so they were unable to engage anyway.
That was a family Hearthstone if I've ever seen one, by the that smoke here.
Isn't it? Do you think that maybe there was like a shadow of a doubt that there would be an end attempt on the core, because they lost vision, they lost direct contact with Team Dignitas. What if Dignitas went like from the top lane, suddenly go for the core? You've got to be afraid of that. There's two disengage mechanics, VP and Gust, and that basically means if you even touch the enemy core and they port at that very second, you're still going to get it because of VP and Gust.
Wouldn't it be funny if that came into play later? Like you have foreseen, you've seen the potential here already. Because
it is a threat.
Yeah, Gust and Void Prison is a very, very real threat. It doesn't just always help to win the fights here every time. But so far, the cores have been left untouched. He's one keep down to one keep down. They still have the fort at the top here, those Team Dignitas, by the way, which is pretty interesting. That one's very, very low.
Yeah. Do they even still have the healing fountain there? They do, and it is the top objective. So if they can keep that healing
every
fountain,
time, don't you?
they have the healing fountain. That's a huge thing.
If the curse would be at the bottom, and then here we go, immediately before.
That's. I mean, it was 50-50 at this point.
Sure, let's leave it at that. Oh, nice trap here. We're gonna take so much damage and go down pretty much instantly. Sure, he comes back faster than other heroes, but that's still gonna be a while and a very good head start on the skeletons here from Dignitas. That's gonna put a lot of pressure here on Fnatic, I think.
This is like a 4.1 versus 10. He's still providing slows. There's the threat of him coming back, and he provides vision. So it's not a complete 4v5. Very interesting catapult for a moment. As they're choosing to fight 4v5. Breeze is in an excellent position. He can go anywhere. Chooses to go for JPL. Gravity Labs missed. It is on cooldown. Void Prison, Ring of Frost.
Wow, they get right in there here. Keltas gets blown up. Lyric still not back into the fight here. And Team Dignitas are on the chase. They can blow up Sylvanas as well.
Beautiful.
And I think this might be it here. Fnatic, there's not much they can do.
Oh, look at that Entomb. Yeah, Mene goes down. Okay, it's a 3 versus 4. Where's this gonna go? Fnatic surprising here with their fighting spirit.
Putting up a hell of a fight, but JPL gets back in there, staying alive the whole time.
Now, Core is about to take damage for Dignitas. It goes so fast with the new catapults. There we go, 90%. That's 4 catapults. This is why Fnatic is fighting.
Yeah, I think they know that this is pushing really far out. The core taking so much damage. Look at this, 47, 42.
Now the catapults are interesting. Now I understand why the observer is looking.
They should have maybe just run there, but you know, we talked about the zoning tools that were available here. And Breeze, he's got a hell of a task ahead here. Pretty much alone here on this point. Fuop will be trying to come back as soon as he can. But if that Punisher here is captured, might be the frozen one, but he might be able to just end the game. Dignitas in a fantastic position here to close things out against Fnatic.
Now, what do you think? Keltas just runs straight to the enemy core, no?
There is no defense possible here. They have to go for it. Muradin as well is going to be going for it. It's a 28% core here.
Okay,
He's got the shield back.
Oh,
it's going to be a race.
It is a race. Wobby will try what he can as Leoric to slow the advances of the opponent. We've got defenses coming in here.
You called it, Grubby, a long time ago. Gust going to be available here to push them back on the right-hand side. Jaina as well, making sure Muradin and Keltas cannot get in there just yet. The Punisher alone here is going to do so much damage to the core.
So this is one of those famous European Hearthstone parties. No one parties like a European Hearthstone party where they keep trying to take an option on Hearthstone and then changing their mind based on the situation. This is a very tight situation. Void Prison.
Everybody better get in there then.
Oh no, the Ring of Frost misses.
Wow. Okay, it might not matter here.
40% Fnatic core, 20% Dignitas is doing it.
And Breeze is going to troll TP away, but no, not quiet. Team Dignitas get the win.
So sick, Tom.
And they're so pumped about it. After a very disappointing map number 1, I don't think there's not any other way to say it. They pull through.
I have this mental image of someone with sunglasses, indoors, trying to act cool, saying, I don't really care what happens. And then you look at his hand, and he's holding a coffee cup, and there's a spoon inside the coffee cup, and it's making a tinkling sound. The hand is shaking. He cares. The cool guys care.
Yeah.
This means a lot to them anyway.
Yeah, they said that they wouldn't get too upset about it if they lost, but they apparently really care if they win.
Winning feels pretty good anyway.
Feels good, man.
Fnatic losing once again by 1 map at the hands of Dignitas. By no means out, and still friends.
Yeah, I mean, still potentially the favorite here to make it out of this group in 2nd place.
Now for Fnatic, if they make it out, which by no means is guaranteed, if they do, they wouldn't be too unhappy with taking second behind Dignitas in the finals, because the way the tournament structure works out, since Dignitas already clinched their spot, they will also qualify. But Fnatic, they can't afford to lose a single series anymore.
Absolutely, yeah. That was a really cool series, man. I'm so happy to have seen not only successful Stitches, but successful Zeratul, and Zeratul that had a very difficult start too in the start of the game, dying twice.
Yeah. Well, so sick. I want to see what the victors have to say about this. Todd, great to cast with you again. Gonna throw it over to Paul, the host.
Thank you very much. Yes, congrats. A good win. Very fun, I said when I came over. And what did you say?
I said it was probably fun to watch, not quite as fun to play.
It's a bit stressful in there for that game. Yeah. Talk me through game one. What went wrong for you?
I think game one, I couldn't get anything done with Greymane. I think we picked it because it was kind of a comfort thing, but I think we struggled to push into their comp, and we weren't really... Maybe if we'd pulled the trigger a little better, we still could have taken the win, but I think our player just wasn't there for the first game. We kind of needed time to warm up.
And then second game went much better.
Yeah, the second game we were a lot more confident with the strategy. We played that a lot and practiced it, and I think it showed. Like, I think we had a really good game the second game.
Yeah, so talk us through that third game at the end. You got a choice. Do you go back? Do you push? Do you go back? Do you push? Do you split? What do you do?
I think having Falstad helps a lot there because I can sit at the core. If I see them coming, I can gust. I can fly to the team if they don't come. So I think it was mostly just about leaving me at the base. Mene had to recall as well. And then we just waited for them to have to pull the trigger because they have to do something because they're just going to lose if we push. So it's just about waiting for them to make the mistake and then we just punish them as soon as they went through it.
Safely through to the semi-finals from a tough group. I think a lot of people would look at the group and say, it's a tough group. Earlier on, I spoke to Jay, I spoke to Bakery as well. They've both been telling me, you guys are just going to have some fun, you're going to chill out. If anyone worried about you guys being not motivated for this, that's gone now, isn't it?
I mean, I think we've definitely been motivated. We had a bit of a break after Valencia because I thought we deserved it, honestly. We qualified for BlizzCon, so we took a bit of time off and we struggled to kind of find our fit back in the game. We had a lot of problems with practice, and Alex was saying that we weren't that confident. It's kind of true, but we all kind of had the mentality of, the stage is completely different. Once we get to the tournament, our mindset changes. I think we could just, if we get to the tournament, we can play our best, and I think it's showing right now, and we're clutching it pretty hard.
Yeah, absolutely. What is it about these guys that you always have good games with?
Fnatic are all exceptional players. Each one of them is very skilled in their roles, so we respect them a lot. And I think maybe that even has maybe we respect them too much, and we're a little bit more cautious in our play. But yeah, every game goes really close, so it's a lot of fun to play them.
All right, well done, congratulations. Let's head back to desk, find out what they made of our game between Dignitas and Fnatic. Another classic, perhaps.
All right, there we go. Dignitas just casually winning over one of their biggest rivals. That is, of course, Fnatic. Breaking no sweat at all. But let's be honest here. I think Dignitas played really, really well. They looked very solid, especially in those last two games, which, were pretty much determined by them pulling off a hero that seemed to be forgotten. First, it was, last but not least, it was Zeratul. And before that, it was basically, who was it again? Jaina, right. So basically, we have heroes that do a lot of work if you use them correctly, right?
I think they used them both correctly at the same time. We said, oh, that looks like a potential wombo combo. Guys, they landed a lot of those.
They did, and it was cool to see it on the back line, too, where somebody would be up working on the shrine, and then he would get that wombo, and Karzim could only save one. He could only pop one, and they were landing at multiple every time. It was really good.
Absolutely, and you really have to give credit to Dignitas for executing it so flawlessly. I mean, everybody who's ever played Zeratul in a wombo combo combination, they know how hard it is to pull off and to know exactly when to cancel that Void Prison manually. I mean, you really couldn't see that Fnatic knew, like they didn't know what to do against it.
At one point, they decided, hey, a Wailing Arrow would be nice if we hit it in their back line. There is no follow-up because Jaina can't use her ability. It worked, I think, once. But outside of that, it just seemed like they never really adapted to it and got caught from beginning to end. The minute they hit 10 all the way up until the very end, they were able to pull that off.
I think a lot of it came down to positioning between Silva and KT. They were almost never split because they were afraid of Zeratul and they wanted to punish, but I feel like they failed to realize that if they void both, they lose every fight. That the only way they stand a chance is if they only void one, because then Smexy can save one of them, and then Silva has the potential to get the Wailing Arrow on the backline, so they're going to prioritize Silv over the Kel'Thas, and it just felt a little bit just discomforting to like watch them take those team fights because it felt like they didn't really totally understand how to be able to deny it. And the one time they did, I mean, the whole fight turned against them, right? Like the combo is you are able to deal with it. Like I was surprised also Karzim not taking Foresight at 4. The only way they win team fights is womboing, and you saw how panicked they were finding the Kel'Thas. If they had a little bit more vision of him, it would have made it a lot easier to deal with.
I liked the draft versus Karzim too, because you would think, oh, let's group up, let's bear hug to heal. That is not what you want to be doing versus that wombo.
Yeah, especially not against a Jaina who's going to punish you hard with one of those deadly blizzards. Speaking of Jaina, Jay, I'm pretty sure you've got something prepared for us in showing us how deadly those wombos really were.
It's almost impossible not to have a wombo combo replay because they pulled it off so perfectly. And here was one that we saw in particular. You're going to see it lined up. The Phoenix comes out to try and do anything. The Mighty Gust, they're trying to do anything to save their lives. But the wombo combo that lands there and then the follow-up afterwards on the backside, you saw the Ancestral. It was just like perfect coordinated play by Dignitas. They tried to isolate. They tried to be able to get everybody in position. You can see the continued follow-up, the plays by Bakery, that even the person that's not doing the quote-unquote damage there. That would have been the end of the game. I think they were definitely very happy with that, but
right, there we go.
I mean, did you celebrate like that before?
I mean, I don't know.
So for a team that obviously wasn't really into that tournament too much, Dignitas certainly looks very passionate in those last minutes, guys. So we've seen Stitches coming out from Team Dignitas. We've seen Jaina. We've seen, of course, a lot of heroes that we didn't expect. Do you think that they are the new innovators here in Europe?
Did they actually take a break? They seem very adaptive to the patch. They had 3 very different compositions that obviously were practiced. Did they actually take a break, or were they just pulling our leg? Because it was impressive. Yes, the first game, Fnatic won, but as Snitch said, we're all quite on the same page yet. The other 2 games were flawless.
Until they pull out Gul'dan, they're not innovative.
I mean, Gul'dan, by the way, is a very good keyword here to remind you guys, just in case you tune in a little bit later, that Gul'dan is indeed the current patch here in this tournament, so we're not having Auriel just yet, just in case you guys get a little bit curious, like, hey, where's Auriel? But eventually, maybe we're going to see a Gul'dan. In fact, I was talking to Raid Boss from ePunks, and he said that especially in Group B, there are a couple of teams who might actually pull him off.
I wouldn't be okay. I wouldn't be mad at that. I'm sorry. I would be okay with it. Same?
Same.
I think it'd be all right. I think it'd be all right.
Yeah?
It has to be in the right comp, but they can get away
And
with
against
it.
the right comp,
Infernal,
Yeah,
I
against
like
it
it
too,
on
yeah.
Infernal.
Absolutely. And by the way, guys, we've talked a lot about those crazy team comps and cool heroes. If there's something that you want to share with the world and sort of let us know which heroes you would like to see, feel free to use the hashtag HGC and join the discussion online on Twitter. I mean, you want me to say it? Tweet?
No.
Tweet
I
at
want
us?
everybody to say, even if you're not using HGC to go out and talk about the game, wish this man a happy birthday. In case you missed it, today is Kendrick's birthday. No lie, today is Kendrick's birthday. So happy birthday, Kendrick.
It's
Use
a very
hashtag
sad one,
HGC.
too, because it's the last time or the last chance I get to dodge the 30s, man. Now everybody knows it.
Poor Kendrick.
Thank you. Thank you very much for making me look old. No, but of course, but there's also much more to come. I mean, we are just getting started with Heroes of the Storm here at Gamescom for the second fall regionals. Especially the second game of the upper bracket is going to be super kick-ass. We're going to have ePunks versus none other than 2Bs. I would say a best of 3 between 2 teams that are roughly on the same skill level, so explosive matches can be guaranteed for sure. And later during that, we're going to take a look at the Deciros match between Fnatic and the winner, of said second upper bracket match. For now, though, don't go anywhere, guys, and stay tuned.